This conference will now be
Good afternoon,
recorded.
everybody. Welcome to our town hall mission for a budget meeting. Thank you for coming. Kelly, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Vessler?
Here.
Commissioner Cleo?
Here.
Commissioner Cassidy?
Here.
Vice Mayor Cos?
Here.
Mayor Pugh?
Here. All right, let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, Lynn, I guess you had an addition?
Yes, we need to discuss and consider, pardon me. Would like to add discussion and consider approval of applications for the Coastal Resiliency and FERDAP grants for matching to budgeted capital projects in the FY24 budget. Those applications are due August 31st and September 1. So the budget is being finalized for the most part between now and then. They're going to ask if the commission signed off on the application for the grants, so
Okay. Should we do that before the,
before the budget.
What exactly does it mean? Because we've done this resilience thing before, it's a total waste of money.
No.
No, this would be a grant for up to 50% of funds for any improvements or land purchases related to coastal resiliency.
So it's simply
What-
moving paperwork?
Well, let me do this.
What we did before, what
Wait.
you did.
Let's put it on the agenda as number 1. How about number A? That'd be first, so then we can have a discussion, then we'll have a discussion about it. All right? We'll do that A, that's the first thing. Are any other deletions, modifications? All right, hearing none. You want to make a motion?
So move.
Second.
All right, moving second, any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, now let's announcements. Town hall will be closed on Monday, September 4th in observance of Labor Day. All right, public comment, 3 minutes. Terry, it's public comment, so this is it.
Hey, you waiting for me?
Not, you have anything you want to talk about other than what's on the agenda?
Well, I don't know. You phrased it that way.
It's
I was
budget.
just,
Yeah, don't forget, you gotta give your name and address for the
Feel
record.
free to not talk.
Terry Brown, Harvard South. No, I was reviewing the manager's notes to you, and I'm confused about a couple of things, if that's okay. Why can't we get Ocean Avenue fixed? Why can't we get the lights replaced? Why can't we get the sidewalk? I know there's construction going on, but that goes back to when, again, Chris O'Hara was here, and he was on the committee with the people at Boynton. And they picked that design because they wanted something artistic and different. Well, it turns out it was poor design. The lights and the railings going over the bridge, it's all rotted. You'll see some of it's falling right off. But why can't we just spend the money and get the lights fixed? I mean, you got about 10, 20 lights. Where's Betty?
40.
40 lights.
40 lights.
Oh. Betty's the one that's always complaining about it, and she's not even here. I mean, it just takes money, right?
Yep.
So you just do it. If you listened to me before and you paid off the town hall, you would have had $500,000 every year reoccurring for the same tax rate to take care of these things. You're allowing all these big houses, but you can't beautify the entrance. So that's one thing I wanted to complain about, really. The other was that Lynn refers to a list of, I guess, cost of living increase, but the list is not attached to the package anywhere. So supposedly all of you got her proposed list. Is that right?
Those were in the August 7th package. So nothing has changed from the August 7th package.
Okay, so you didn't include them even though you referred them to them in this document?
Well, they're included before, so.
Yeah.
Redundant to include them again.
Okay, I caught my breath.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
I'm Tim Cassidy, 7 Hudson Avenue, and I come here as a taxpayer on my own accord. Just But I've been taking a look at the budget just from, 30,000 feet, just kind of high level where we are. And I think if you look at it, last year was a 18.3% increase in taxes. The year before was 8.5%. I know you guys on this current commission didn't have anything to do with that. But that, if we continue this trend, expenditures in 2022 budget were up 956,000. 2023, 1.145 million. In 2024, 1.4 million. If you combine those three changes in expenditures in the last 3 years, that's greater by $1 million than the previous 10 years. So we are the last 3 years, or the last 2 years, obviously are in the books. This last year, we have an opportunity to switch it because 18% and 9% prior to that, and $3 million in new expenses in the last 3 years is unsustainable. This won't last. And, it's really crazy. That rate of expansion of expenditures and taxes increases is not sustainable. The other thing I want to point out, and again, I'm looking at, one of the numbers I always look at, fund balance. Where are we fund balance? Well, we don't have an audited statement. It's now August 15th, 2023. We're looking for an audited statement as of September 30, 2022. So it's almost a year. I look back from the website when the audits were done, the previous years. So for year end 2021, the audit was done April 13th. September 2020, the audit was done March 15th. The audit for September year end 2019 was done March 9th, 2020. 2018, it was done in May 21. So that's May 24. So from the important document that you guys need is the fund balance. You don't even have it because we don't have an audited statement from September 30, 2022, which is incredible. Considering it normally takes 5 months to do, it's now almost a full year. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right. Let's go right to the regular agenda items.
No, can I ask a question though?
Sure.
Do you know why it's taken so long?
The auditor has not given me specific reasons why it's taken so long. It did take longer for Jean and I to get some of the documents to them. But because in past years, Tracy's experience doing the audit, 6 years of doing the audit, she was able to get them everything by 10/15, so 15 days into the fiscal year. At that point, I was only a month and a half into the town and was still locating all of the files. Jean was still closing out the year end. And so we missed the window to be one of the first clients with the audit finished as opposed to being at the tail end. I spoke to the auditor last week. He said we should have it for the September meeting, but it is an outside audit that does the audit, and we, other than continuing to put regular pressure on him for when the audit's going to be complete, cannot say do it or else, because if he doesn't do it, then we have to contract with somebody else and start all over.
Okay, and I know when Tracy was doing it, we never really had any adjustments to fund balance that I know of.
The
Not
biggest,
significant.
right, the biggest adjustment that I'm anticipating to fund balance was the expenditure that the commission did last year on the Priest property, as well as the addition of the ARPA, the American Rescue Plan Act funds that are additional cash revenues that we've set aside for the water main project that's about ready to go out to bid.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? All right, so let's proceed with your grant
Can I
paperwork.
speak to the vulnerability assessment for a second?
Sure.
So the Coastal Resilience Partnership that Ocean Ridge participated in back 2019 to 2021 was of the barrier islands communities that looked at coastal resiliency, and it was before the creation of the Resilient Florida part of the DEP. So we did spend money on that, and I remember talking to you about it at the time. Phil. And I attended a flooding workshop several months ago, and a lot of the DEP representatives for Resilient Florida were there. And they talked about the tiered process they have for accessing grant monies. The first thing you have to do is have a vulnerability assessment, which by our participation in that resilience partnership, that sufficed. So that solved, we saved a year basically at this point. By being part of that, we satisfied the vulnerability assessment. We know what our vulnerabilities are. So now we are applying for the Resilient Florida grants, having completed that step already.
So what money is attached to the application?
They require a 50% match.
So
Unless you are a very disadvantaged community, they do consider that, but it's a 50% match
of what?
of whatever the project is that we're submitting to them. They'll give us, the
Gotcha.
grant would be 50%.
My
And there
reluctance,
is a lot of grant money there.
my strong feelings about the resilience that we joined is we already had that from the town engineer, and they came back and told us exactly the same spot she told us we were vulnerable. That's why I objected to the expense of the money.
Right, no, I remember that at the time. But the good news is that going through that formality satisfied DEP for that step in the process, because that would be a whole other grant cycle you'd have to apply for the
Gotcha.
vulnerability assessment. So we've done that.
Yeah, but just to be clear, I mean, it was political baloney. And they are giving you the benefit of joining that, but you could have done it for free with an app they have. All you do is Google it, and you can add a foot of sea level rise to anywhere you want to in the country. And that's basically what they did. So all you do is you add a foot, you add a foot, you add a foot, and you'll see Ocean Ridge just kind of
For
disappear at around
$27,000.
7 feet. I'm sorry, what?
For $27,000.
Yeah, right. But it is a game, and since we played the game, we now get a benefit of a grant. But it was a bunch of baloney. I asked a bunch of questions. They had a seminar,
Yeah.
and they did it online. I asked a bunch of tough questions. None of those tough questions were answered. All the questions that were answered were, oh, you guys did a great job. We're so happy about this. And then they would answer, you know. But if you said anything tough to them, they wouldn't respond.
So the two grants that we're talking about are the FERDAP, which is the Florida Resilient, I'm not sure exactly what all it stands for, but it would be to potentially apply for up to 50% grant for acquisition of any property in the community for coastal resiliency. So if we find an additional property that is a mangrove property, of which there are several at the end of Coconut that are mangrove properties, there's also a couple of additional properties left here behind Town Hall, we would get up to a 50% match on any expenditures for that. For the Resilient Florida grant, that would be applying for the construction of a new seawall / outfall at the end of Hudson Avenue to replace the hard wall. Both of those we've already talked about. They're in the capital budget, and as we discussed last week, they would be contingent capital projects on receiving grant funding. So we would not move forward with the projects, with doing the projects, if we did not receive these grant applications or the grant funding.
Yeah.
The application for the FERDAP is due August 31st. The Resilient Florida is September 1st, which is why not waiting until the September meeting, as well as them being tied into the budgets, I asked to add them to today's agenda.
So do you have to show it as a budget item, or can it be reserve money that you have available?
You have to show that the commission is supporting those applications. In the Hudson Avenue Seawall project, it is specifically in the capital projects.
Right.
The other one, we just need the commission to show support that we would potentially spend reserves if we decided to purchase land.
So what are you asking of the commission?
Right.
For the commission to approve applying for those two grants based on the budget discussions we've had for FY24.
Okay, is it gonna cost the town any money in making that application?
We are working with Ryan Ruskey. There is some charge for the grant writer, but beyond that, no.
And how much is that approximate charge for the grant writer?
His approximate charge, I believe, is $6,000, which was within my spending authority, of which the town budgeted $20,000 to spend on the grant writer in FY23, and we've spent none of.
All right, so you're asking for approximately $6,000 and the support of this,
Of
right?
Correct.
Of the two applications.
And
correct?
one item's already budgeted.
I understand that, but no, she's asking for
For
two.
support.
support of these two
All right,
projects.
so I'll make a motion to that effect. That
Second.
support both applications and the approximate sum of $6,000 for the grant application.
Second.
All right, motion and second, any other discussion? Public comment? All right, hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Lynn. Thank you, Ken. All right, let's move on to the main show.
And show. At the August 7th workshop, a brief summary of what we did. Under the capital budget, the commission reduced the amount for the town hall drain field from $40,000 to $20,000 for repair and rehab, rather than just replace. They reduced the amount budgeted for interior painting and flooring in town hall, which were items 13 and 14, from a total of $83,000 to $25,000, with no work to be done to update the commission chambers and community room. Eliminated the budget funding for land acquisition for easements, drainage infrastructure, septic lift stations, et cetera, in the amount of $350,000. Had a discussion regarding the expenditure related to the Ocean Avenue streetlights and the fact that in FY '22, $125 was budgeted. In FY '24, I had requested $1 million based on some back of the napkin estimates. At this time, there's 2 missing fixtures on the east side of the Ocean Avenue Bridge, and we have a work order from the bridge maintenance company for FDOT to replace those. It was my thought that as we were doing that and coinciding with the FDOT resurfacing project, that we look at changing out all of the street lights, going from high pressure sodium to an LED, as they no longer meet the FDOT lumen requirements. And the FDOT is also changing out 2 street light heads on A1A at the intersection of Ocean Avenue. Based on the discussion, I returned that amount to the FY '23, reducing $875,000 from that line item. The total of those changes would be a reduction of anticipated capital spending in FY '24 from $5,076,506 to $3,773,506 for a total reduction in $1.303 million. Of that, we would be reducing the use of capital fund reserves for capital projects in the amount of $2,996,002 and reducing the transfer from the general fund to the capital fund by $20,077. As it related to salaries and merit versus COLA or both, the current budget as was prepared and proposed to the commission showed only a 5% merit increase for employee salaries. I presented multiple options to show variations, one that included up to 5% merit, the second that presented a 3% COLA with an up to 5% merit, the third presenting a 5% or a 2,500 COLA with up to 5% merit. In options 2 and 3, the COLA changes would go into effect on 10/1 and be added to employees' base salaries. Merit would continue to be calculated and only adjusted following the employee's annual performance evaluation. At the July budget work session, the commission had asked about options like the one-time stipend of 5.5% that was provided to 9 employees that had not been previously subject to a market adjustment of $7,500, which was equal to the adjustment made for members of dispatch and to those under the PBA contract. The commission voted to make that one-time stipend. This is not what was suggested by Manager Stevens, as she recommended that the adjustment be made to their base salaries. In February, Chief Jones came to the commission and requested an additional $7,500 base salary adjustment for certified officers, which was granted. Additionally, a reimbursement in lieu of take-home car was approved to be paid at the end of FY '23. In March of '23, the market adjustments were also then made for the town clerk and the public work supervisor of $7,500 to their base salaries. The purpose of the market adjustment for FY '23 and the requested COLA increase, which I'm requesting this year, is to allow employee salaries to be adjusted considering the inflationary market in which we live. The CPI for Miami, Fort Lauderdale, West Palm Beach area has exceeded the national average and is widely publicized as the highest in the US and increased 9.6% year over year. I understand the reluctance to continue to increase salaries without a full compensation study being completed, but it is a well-documented fact that retaining employees is less expensive than recruiting and training new employees, and I believe this can clearly be seen in Ocean Ridge over the past 18 months. I provided options for the commission to consider with this budget if they would prefer to once again do a single stipend to the employees for a market adjustment. It was not, and is not my recommendation that the commission do both a one-time market adjustment and the COLA merit. It is an either-or recommendation. The one-time market adjustments were only provided after the commission requested to see what they would look like.
Okay, so other than lights and salaries, what other discussions are there for this meeting?
I have some general questions,
What's that?
overall
Yeah.
questions.
Overall general questions, but I'm saying the two things you want to tackle first.
Sounds fine, but I'd like to clarify some stuff in the memo.
Okay.
That would help us understand.
Yeah, I'd like to also clarify too, the CPI, you referred to South Florida, Miami, Fort Lauderdale. The numbers for the 12-month number for the end of June, your chart showed through the end of April because it's bi-monthly. End of June, it was down to 6.9. Not
But when
9.
I started putting the budget together, I did not have the June numbers because those came out.
Okay, well,
at the end of
that's
July.
why I'm just embellishing.
So here's my question. It's this language which scared me. So I'm hoping I'm wrong or it's a misunderstanding. About 6 paragraphs in on the memo sheet. It says, of that, we're talking about the capital expenditures, of that, we are reducing the use of capital fund reserves by 1.269 million. Now, the word reserve around here is a precious word. Are you telling me that the budget presented to us was using that
The
money
original budget
from
was
reserves?
with $5 million in capital projects, which included the $1 million for the Ocean Avenue project, included $350,000 for the land acquisition. Yes, was using part of capital fund reserves. Keeping
What do
in
you mean by
mind
part?
that
But that's not on the revenue.
Define,
it's,
right.
No,
it's on the capital revenue. The capital fund revenues are not at the front, they're in the capital sheet.
Yeah, I think she's using 3.7, is it, or, I forget, no, a couple million, right? 2.1
That's what we
million.
were, we're significantly reducing it. If you go to the capital tab, the first page in the capital tab is a statement of revenues and expenditures.
It was taken out of this budget.
Sorry,
So back
Today's
to,
agenda.
back to my question. Okay, I guess ask it differently. This budget is pulling how much out of reserves? We don't pull money out of reserves to do budget. If we do, it's usually a very small amount.
we were pulling out of reserves to do major capital projects. We're not pulling out of reserves to do regular operating.
It's still money. Okay, so I would hope next year, if we're put into a budget position, I'm not a finance guy, we would have a clear breakdown of how much money is being taken from reserves to create a budget, because I asked this question 2 meetings ago, I believe, because we had an extra $400,000 that we weren't using. Well, now that explains why we had all this extra money, because
No, because that 400,000 was for general operating, not for capital.
but it doesn't matter to me. If you're either overspending your revenues and pulling from reserves, or you're not. So
Well,
you're
if we
telling,
never spend from our capital reserves, we'll never do any projects. If we don't pull from our reserves, we cannot do the water main project on the north end of town, because the ARPA funds were set aside into capital reserves.
so hang on, maybe you're using a different definition of reserve than I am. Okay, you just used that the ARPA funds are in the capital reserve, okay? By reserve, what I mean is our $4.1 million that we have to run the town in an emergency.
Right, we are, to my knowledge, and I will double check the numbers again, we are not tapping into that for general operating.
And how much of that are you tapping into for capital projects
Yeah.
then?
For capital projects, we are now,
It's either 2.2 million, I saw two different numbers on the interfund transfer, so that was gonna be one of my questions. But on the back of the book, you're transferring $1.6 million from operations, and you're spending 3.7.
So what are you saying, Phil? What's the math on
Well,
that?
you subtracted,
And what's so you're.
2.1,
So
2,639,585, fund balance unappropriated.
which is now down to 1,343,583. 900,000 of that is the ARPA project. Of the fund balance, because it's under capital.
Is that sheet you're looking at supposed to be in the binder that we got?
It's in the binder that you had last week.
No, I'm looking at what's in the binder that I had last week.
I apologize, yes, it was under the capital tab.
That's what I'm
Says
looking at.
capital fund, statement of revenues and expenditures.
Yep.
Okay, so let me ask my question differently, because I think we're semantic. We have 4.1 million in reserves for emergency.
General
At
fund
the end of
reserves.
this, I don't care where the money is, right? At the end of this budget, will we have 4.1 million in reserves?
In the general fund, yes.
Okay, so we're not eating into what I define as reserves.
Right. What we have is we have general fund cash reserves of 4 million. We have 774,000 in infrastructure surtax capital reserves. That is the surtax that we get from the county every year
Okay,
that can only be used on infrastructure projects.
see, I think the confusion, Lynn, in previous meetings, I've never heard the word reserve used across so many different categories. That's the problem,
Wow.
to me at least. Okay, so we're not eating into the sacred 4.1 million.
Correct.
Thank you.
but we are spending a lot on capital. You know, we used to
Yeah.
spend
Yeah, but it's
under a
money that's
million.
available without.
Last year, I think it was $1.8 million, and now you're gonna be at $3.7 million. Not to say we don't need it, I'm just saying you are bumping it up way up.
But again, 900,000 of that is a single project for which we received the funds from the federal government. That's the water main project. So while, yes, we're making significant investments in the community that haven't been done in the past, the ARPA funds, also under the capital, is for the Hudson Avenue seawall that we just talked about. That's 750,000, of which we are hoping to receive 50% in grant funds. And then we're also applying for the FERDAP grant. That is not budgeted in here, but that would be if we potentially purchased land. Then again, that would come out of potentially that 4 million, not the capital, because we haven't budgeted it here, and it would take a budget amendment.
Now, is some of this money also from 23 that hasn't been spent yet?
Yes,
Okay, so it was already budgeted for.
yes, 1.5 million of this money in capital projects is money that was approved for FY '23 that haven't been spent yet. The Ocean Avenue sidewalks, the streetlights, the tropical pump station generator, because it has not arrived yet, the A1A water main project, and the Harbor Drive drainage project.
Okay, all right. I have one other question since we're on this. I have two different numbers though. I have an inter-fund transfer of $1,579,000 on the back pages.
Yep.
But when I go to the revenue, let's see, revenue and expenses, I have a transfer of $1,158,000. Do you know what the difference is for that? Is that a year difference? 23.4?
My guess would be that it just didn't get carried over from the right location. Yeah, because it was supposed to It's supposed to be a carryover from another page, and it's, for some reason, the formula is not carrying over.
Okay. Do you know which number is right?
It would be 1158, 1,158.
So our surplus is fine.
Yes.
In the
All right, what
future, I
else you
think
have?
what would be helpful, so to avoid confusion that Steve is mentioning, and I think I brought this up at last month, is that we have a front page showing what monies we have. So if there are carryover reserves, it's counted as, it's classified as that. If we have 4.1 in the general fund reserves, it's classified that. But we haven't seen that. We don't have that statement.
It was in the meeting book last week, list of the general fund, the infrastructure surtax, the ARPA reserves, the existing capital restricted fund reserves, which gave us total capital reserves and total general fund reserves.
Email it to us.
I will.
So
Can we put it up on the thing here?
the other thing I would think is, since well, most of the commission, Phil's not because he's
I have
CPA.
this week's packet.
But this confusion, next time we go to do a budget, maybe it could be more clearly pointed out to us at the beginning of the book. I think that's what Ken's pointing at. And you can do multicolors because we're children.
I know what sheet you're talking about because I saw it. Now I can't locate it, which tab it's under.
Trying to remember which tab it's under.
While you're looking for that, Jeff, to answer your question, so there's two things that you think we want to concentrate on, and that is the salaries
Salary.
and the other general things. I think since we pushed off the salaries the last time to the end of the meeting and then had no time, let's tackle that first, because I think that's the tougher, not necessarily tougher, but it's something that we have to deal with.
And then we'll have a conversation about millage rate, of course, right?
Well, let's do the salaries first,
No, I know.
because that's what's
We
my
have a,
number
if we
one.
have a list.
Plus then, probably after salaries, the room will clear out. Nobody's want to hear about the lights,
Except
except Terry. All right, so you want to expand on the salaries, Lynn, start out?
All right.
As
And
Kelly rolls.
Yeah, I will provide you with that spreadsheet. Want to get to,
Now, we did get this salary comparison.
yes, we had all asked for a salary comparison. I did the best I could in getting information from other communities. We only received the actual salary ranges from 3 communities. We received a comp study that was completed just this summer for Lake Park. For Lantana and Jupiter, their non-police command salaries were not included in their salary ranges. But for administrative positions, you can see where we are for the town manager, town clerk, the town treasurer. I got as close as I could based on those communities' salary ranges to what our town treasurer is. In Jupiter, senior accountant. Lantana, assistant finance director. Juno Beach, their project coordinator, risk management. That's because Jean does our HR. And Highland Beach, senior accountant or a finance director without CPA. You can see our treasurers, and then we've got the deputy clerk, and it depends on whether they're a deputy clerk or an executive assistant, or in Juno Beach's case, they do not have a deputy clerk. Administrative assistant, that's the person that sits at our front desk. Again, admin specialist, admin assistant, or office assistant for the salary ranges for the administrative positions.
So can I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
Because I don't like the way we've packaged this all together. And then when I sat down, I got this memo here from the chief. We're packaging the whole staff together. What's it total? 35 odd people. We have very specific memo here with a very specific 3-step approach from the chief that I think we should address first. Deal with the police, because we pride ourselves on our relationship with the police. Then go and deal with the town staff in a separate discussion immediately after we deal with the police proposal. Does that sound like a plan?
Yes.
Somebody to start out with.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so chief, maybe you want to explain,
Yeah,
maybe Kelly could put this up. Do you have this, Kelly? Yeah, I think it'll make our lives much easier.
well, I put this together to follow up with what was presented in, I believe in
February.
February of 22.
No,
Yeah.
23.
Was it, see, it was a 22 or
It's
beginning of
23.
23? But it was a follow-up to, the dispatchers and police officers did get a 75,000 increase to their base salaries in 22, you say 23.
Hey, Scott,
Se-
could you
75.
move that microphone closer to you? And Kelly, could you enhance that, because I need binoculars to read it. Yeah, that was, there you go. So everybody can read in the audience.
I'm asking to follow up with what was presented. There is an example, an insert from that proposal, read from where it starts at year 2. The gist of that is that we're currently down 3 police officer positions, not including the 2 frozen positions. Due to our current benefits, a few of the applicants have declined to move forward with our agency. We're currently in the process of hiring 2 officers with experience, and I would request that we look at paying for experience as well, with those 2 quality applicants. Dispatch is currently down 2 positions, one of which has been vacant since February of 22. We currently had 2 applicants. They already attempted, completed a full background. One that had withdrawn their job offering due to another department. The detective spends many hours along with cost completing each background, which is then wasted when an applicant withdraws. I did a comparison between the barrier islands, Manalapan, come October, they've already gotten approval. Their starting salary would be $65,000 for starting officer plus 7% each October for the next 3 years.
Is that each October or is it over 3 years? 7% over 3
I
years?
got for the next I think it's the next October, then it's 7%.
It has to be.
It's over 3 years? Someone's waving.
Each October, they get the 7%.
Right, fall. Palm Beach starting salary is $66,788 plus incentives for experience. Gulfstream, this is October 1 for these agencies. Gulfstream, $66,000 plus incentives for experience. Highland Beach starting salary is $70,000. Ocean Ridge current salary is $62,000 for starting officer.
So what you're saying is you want to boost that to 65.5.
It'd be $3,500 for a starting officer, which we are down 3 positions now, 2 are frozen.
Wait, but that's what I'm saying. So what you're asking is then you're asking it for that, let's just start
Yep.
step by step.
Yep.
You're asking for $3,500 added to the 62, 65.5. That would make the starting, Ocean Ridge starting salary.
To the yes, correct, starting, and then $2,500 to the existing employees and including dispatchers.
Right, whenever you're talking about 20 odd people, it includes dispatch.
Dispatch,
Yeah,
right, and
police
there's only 4 dispatchers currently.
But we'll pretend it's 6 when we,
Right, there will eventually be 6, hopefully.
All right, here's my question real quick. So the $3,500 you're adding to the Ocean Ridge starting salary for the officers. So it's 65. Then you say, I would suggest that we increase all current. Is that including now adding another 2,500 to the 3,500 for the?
No.
Okay, so it's all
Starting.
other officers other than the starting
Right.
salary. Okay.
Can I ask?
Across the board, 2,500, the starting salary base pay would be an additional 3,500.
Right,
exactly.
right. But I just want to make sure we're
And that
all,
would bring us to, after
That's the same.
October 1, just the middle of the road in dispatch and officer salaries.
This kicks in.
If we did not
What?
do anything, we'd be at the bottom, we couldn't attract, employees, it'd be very hard.
So when we gave the $7,500 back in February or January, whenever that was, I can't remember now, but that went to the base salary. So we were that far below at that time. We were in the
Correct.
50s, correct?
Correct.
So what I'm finding out, or when last year when you didn't do a salary adjustment, you did a one-time payout.
Yeah, but there was a.
So their salary was never adjusted in that process, so they've been behind the scale, even though they got a bonus. So,
No, I think for
No,
the police
no,
officers,
they
the
did it.
7,500 was
They
added to
base
the salary.
in February of this year,
Right.
I'm talking about the year before.
Yeah.
That was an add-on. That wasn't budgeted in February. When this came up, it wasn't budgeted.
But that was only.
The police
dispatch.
officers never got the one-time
That was
stipend.
They never
dispatch.
got it?
Dispatch.
No, that's because the police officers had gotten an additional bump in their base pay prior to that as part of their contract negotiation.
That would have been 3 years.
No,
So we're
because the
meeting their
contract was
contract.
signed in March of '22.
Okay, when we added the 7,500 in February, that gives us what we see as the proposed salary number for fiscal year '23. And then for fiscal year '24, it's an 18.5% increase. So how, if we're so underpaying, how did we get 18% from what we approved in February to what's proposed for next year without even taking all this into consideration?
Because it does take into consideration the 2,500, it just takes into consideration the 2,500 across the board for all of the employees, not just PD. It's one of the salary proposals that you have in front of you.
So the 2,500
No.
in the police department budget, you had already included that in the budget.
No. And all of the thing in the information that was sent out this morning, thought I sent it out this morning, and I sent it to someone.
What I'm referring to is the police department tab in the budget that we had last week. Fiscal year '23 proposed salaries, 1.516. Fiscal year '24 proposed 1.797, which is an 18.5% increase, but that's not even taking into consideration these numbers in Chief McClure's memo that we're talking about.
Correct.
So I'm just asking for what accounts for the 18.5% increase without even taking into consideration.
Because it takes into consideration the 7,500 that was done in February.
No, that's in fiscal year '23 proposed. That's how that changed from a year ago.
But because they got 7,500, when they do their 5% annual evaluation in FY '24, that is going to be larger than it would have been a year ago.
Right?
We also have a new chief, and you have the chief's salary. We have positions.
We have 2 vacant lieutenant's positions and a vacant sergeant's position.
But isn't most of the.
So is
18%
the 18.5% increase, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
assuming you're filling 3 spots?
Yes,
Okay,
yes. it
that
includes-
explains
it
it.
assumes
That was
filling
the
all the
simple,
spots,
that's the simple
all
answer
the
I was
vacancies.
looking for. Thank you.
Okay.
The baby step.
Yeah.
$3,500 you're asking for the base starting
Starting
salary. So let's think, so that basically the 3 people that the 3 unfulfilled positions, correct?
Correct.
So at $3,500, that puts us at 65.5 compared to 65 from Nalapan, 66.7 for Palm Beach, 66 for Gulfstream, and 70 for Highland Beach. And you feel confident at 65.5, that is sufficient enough to get us into the game, or do we need to go a little bit higher for those 3 positions? It is a very difficult work environment today.
It puts us right close to the middle with Palm Beach and Gulfstream at 66.
Do they also have the take-home car allowance and all that stuff we have?
I did not get the stats on that.
I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah.
I talked to Greg Dunham this morning. But you said that part of the thing, what is turning people away from Ocean Ridge is the benefits. So is health insurance a big part of that?
Health insurance, sure, part of it, sure.
Well, I'm
Because
hoping
we've
she's
been
gonna talk
asking,
about
yeah,
that
I mean,
in-
that's been identified as a problem for a while.
I'm hoping she has some answers for that today, so when we get to it.
Well, should we talk up, have a vote or something on the 3,500 first, or you want to do the whole package?
We'll do it as a package.
Well, no, I think we need this is sufficient that we need to baby step it. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
I agree.
We could do it as a whole pack, but we seem to have trouble doing that.
Yes.
So let's baby step it and let's understand what we're doing at the time that we're doing it. So if you want, I'll make a motion to start the base salary for
And
the
that's for
officers,
police and dispatchers.
for police and dispatcher, additional $3,500.
If it dispatches? Oh,
That's what it says.
3,500, but not,
That's the base salary for the starting position.
gotcha. I was misreading the,
Now, do we
Yes,
know
sir.
how much that is? How many people are involved in that, you know?
Yeah,
I just want to keep track of the money.
right now, you're at, not including me, it would be 17, it would be 19. That's.
No, we're just talking about the base
the base now.
salary.
You
That's
mean
only
for-
two
for-
positions.
Yeah, the
Start- you're talking
3,500,
about-
3,500 times what?
Three.
Oh, we're looking at 3 positions, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's only two
Yeah,
positions.
And, no, 4. Well, 2 dispatchers, 3 police, so dispatchers, that'd be 5.
5, okay.
Right.
Yeah, but to Ken's point, is the 65.5, we're still kind of low. I mean, on that
Well, this
starting side, we're
analysis,
trying to attract more people. I mean, we're having a pretty big problem attracting people here.
Gulfstream's right in the middle. you know.
Well,
The ana-
66,000.
the analysis you did though, is that for their future? Like, is that what they're going to do in 24? Or is that
Yeah,
what
this
they
is-
are
this is
currently?
what- After October 1. Correct.
Okay,
Well,
everything's
Penelope and I
after
already believe is at 65. I don't think they're gonna change. October 1, Palm Beach, 66, 788, starting October 1. Gulfstream, October 1, 66. Palm Beach is already at 70. They've agreed, I think, this budget cycle.
Well,
This is October 1.
the chief is asking for 3,500, obviously. He'd be asking for more.
Remember, this is a starting, this is just something we're trying to attract
It's a
people here. So if I'm
recruiting,
trying to attract somebody
If we
here,
go 4,
wouldn't I wanna be-
We side with 2 of the agencies if we go to 66.
well, see, so are you suggesting we go to 66, chief? That's $500 more.
Sure.
I'll amend my
2,500 a year.
motion,
So you're amending your motion to,
66.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, so 66 is the second motion, 66, starting salary for the officer.
Correct.
Okay,
For new hires.
any other discussion? Public comment? All right, hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Now moving on to the starting salary of the dispatcher.
That was
inclusive of
that was
this one.
inclusive.
No, we didn't vote that. No.
We just did the,
Okay. Same
you just did the
motion.
officers. Now make a motion on that one. Maybe you
Motion
said
for
baby
the
steps,
dispatcher.
Ken.
That's fine.
I
You
would
really
recommend
want
the
baby,
same,
you
I
want
would
girl.
recommend the same.
Well, PBSO should not be included in this.
Well, we had to, there are, like Gulfstream does not have their own dispatch. I don't believe Island Beach has their own dispatch.
Well, of all the things that are hardest to get here, isn't it dispatchers the hardest to
We
get
have-
and to
Like I
keep?
said, we've had 2 that we just did full backgrounds on, have left to go to another agency.
Well,
You
look at the pay differences. Manalapan is at 60, we're at 50.
Right.
Yeah, it's
I mean.
I mean, it's a
let's
huge
be
difference.
honest about it. So, so they, from the sounds of this, your 3,500 or 4,000 that we did before to 66 wouldn't be sufficient. That type of increase, $4,000. This requires a little bit more. Is that accurate or not accurate?
If you wanted to be at the top.
We want it to be whatever it's gonna take to
We wanna
get
be
somebody here.
competitive.
So you gotta give
I'd
us.
say 55, right?
Well, we,
Got a point?
when you approved the salary range increases last year, last August, I have the sheet from the packet. Dispatchers, the range was 50 to 85. Who has the discretion to decide what that is in that range, within that range?
For starting new hires, the town manager, according to the salary range document, can adjust by up to 15% over the base for all new hires.
All right.
By the way, when we say new hire, is that literally a new hire, or what if somebody has 10 years experience and they come in? They start out as a new hire?
Here they start out
Here
as
they
a
started
new
out as a
hire.
new hire. That's why in my memo, I recommend that we do pay
That
for experience.
Right,
But
so,
can't that be at your discretion?
Yeah, that's what I would think.
Well, I just learned that can be at our discretion yesterday.
Okay, it's at your discretion. So I have a question.
what does that mean? Now, hold on, what does that mean? No, I don't understand that. Tell me what that means,
It's
at your discretion. What does that mean? Does that give you the power to do what? Do you understand what that means?
Well, is it the
Yeah, I mean,
15%?
I would take it to mean that I have discretion to hire any new hire I have a range I could raise, but I would want to pay for experience. I wouldn't want to bring a brand new
Right,
officer in.
and do we have authority in the current budget, or perhaps we might have to do it for the future budget? Do you have authority to do that in the current budget that we have? And it as to up to what amount? Somebody comes in with 10 years experience, and what do you do? Give me the example.
Historically, we have not paid them any more than the starting salary.
Okay, that's absurd. But if
I
that's,
started here with 25 years experience. I started out at the base salary, starting salary of $42,000.
Well, I think that's what the incentives for experience
I have that in
means,
here.
right? Yeah.
1 to 5 years of 5.5% per year, up to 5 years at 2.5. 6 to 10 years of 4, if you come in with 6 to 10 years experience, 4% on top of the salary. 10 plus years, 5% on top of the salary.
so that begs the question, does that make it competitive for a person with 10 years experience or 20 years experience coming in with a bump of 5% over a base salary? Or is it 5% per year? Is it, what does
No,
that
just
mean?
a flat 5.
So 5%, so let's do the math on that.
3,000.
$3,000. And so typically, what do we pay somebody in this
3,300.
department at 10 years experience? Does that correlate?
Yeah, it'd be 69, 71, 70,000 and change. With the 5% on the 66.
10 years experience, what do we, anybody know the number?
I'll know it in a second if we've got anybody.
at top end.
I'm sorry?
You're almost at top end.
Say 5% above base is
10
top
years.
pay.
Yeah.
For 10 years experience.
For 10 years experience, that would be top pay.
So your point?
My point is that we don't fully understand what we're doing
Yeah,
here.
yeah, we are.
In terms of, and so that's
Baby
what I'm
steps,
trying
we
to
got,
find
we
out.
up to
right?
66 on the
Let's-
salary, then we're going with the dispatch, and then the next thing is this, which would give the chief discretion. Point
No,
number
I just
3.
want to make sure that when we're doing that it's keeping in concert with the intent about being competitive and making sure that,
Gotcha.
you know, we may not want to attract somebody that's new, and maybe somebody with experience that has a lateral move instead of a fresh out of the school move. You know, this is a different type of environment.
Hence the word
It's down.
discretion, so.
Kind of like we did years ago.
Right.
With the market, we've had to, before here, you had to have 10 years experience. We've had to expand that now to guys just out of the academy because we could not attract anybody. 2 guys I have, we're doing backgrounds now. One has 17 years experience. The other has, I think, 5 years.
Okay. At that level, are we competitive in attracting someone of that nature?
I would say, I don't know how many agencies do pay for experience. I don't know. I mean, you're in this, 2 up Palm Beach and Gulfstream are. This, I would, you know, there's 2 ways to look at it now. I just learned that it's at a discretion. So what, I don't know the range, that we could offer.
So we should basically vote on a range to
Well,
give the discretion to the
The way
chief.
last
Right,
year
precisely.
salary ranges were adopted is you can negotiate up to 15% higher than the starting salary. Now, you asked what we are paying, what
That-
No, I think it
Senior
was
officer.
5%.
right,
5, you said
No.
15.
no, that's what he's asking. But the commission, last year when they adopted the salary ranges, approved for the manager to negotiate up to 15% above the minimum for new hires.
So doesn't it end this discussion? That's in place?
Yeah, but that's
That's in
not much
place.
money. If you're saying that a police,
15%?
but if a police officer worked here for 10 years, he'd be making 94,000. If he was a new hire and he had 20 years experience, he'd be making like 60 grand.
No, you
62.
start at
Maybe making
66 and then you-
66 plus, he'd be making,
plus another.
so it's another 6, he'd be,
10,000.
yeah, he'd be around 75 Gs.
Yeah.
Oh, so this minimum is not the same as.
No, it's
No.
different, we're talking.
So he'd
it's
be about
already-
75
It's
grand.
already in the books that you have discretion up to 15%. So between you and Lynn, you have the ability to make that
A
decision.
total of 15% or 15% per salary.
Per individual,
Okay.
for a new hire.
So we're kind of getting off our baby steps there. So we've done the 66. We were talking about dispatch salary. And then we started talking about additional stuff.
Well, we were at the
Well,
dispatcher,
because
so,
it's so low. If you
because-
look at our, if you look at our dispatch
Fine.
compared to the
So
others.
what do you want to do? Raise it by 5,000?
that's what
I'm
I,
asking the chief, he's the one that's dealing with it, so what's the
At
recommendation?
55, it would match Boynton, that is acceptable.
Very good. Now, here's my question. We currently have a dispatcher that we have hired that's making 53, that's been here a year.
Right, but if you raise their salary 2,500 across the board, then they would be
You see what I mean? So you won't create a problem here with somebody. If you do, you guys will be able to solve it. Okay, I'm happy with
So the
55.
base salary is an increase of 5 on starting, plus
Yeah.
$2,500 to the
To
base
existing.
salary across the board, to the existing.
Existing.
right.
So moved.
Can I ask a question about overtime?
For sure, go ahead.
I mean, if we've got,
Oh, wait a minute, there's a motion on the floor, is there a second?
Did you make a motion? I didn't hear it.
I did hear it.
Oh, I
I
did
did
not
say
hear that.
second.
Okay, there.
Is there a second?
Okay, good.
I said second.
You said second? Okay. Any other discussion? Public comment?
Well, Carolyn has comment.
Yeah.
All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
I guess.
aye,
Back
but
on
I
what
have a
Carolyn
question.
Yeah.
Well, that was a part of
Give your
discussion.
question.
Go ahead.
Well, you stopped me because there was a motion on the floor.
No, I
So
said.
the explanation I got for why the salary line is up 18.5% is because we have 3 positions yet to fill, and we're gonna be filling them. So why is the overtime budget going up? If we're able to fill those positions, our overtime budget should go down, correct?
If we're able to fill those positions, but
So you're
as,
budgeting for both.
because there's no guarantee we can fill those positions, we have to have something
It was
budgeted
so
for
hard to fill
overtime.
dispatch, it's been vacant since 2022.
I know, but you've already got it covered in the regular salaries, like to cover it in overtime as well. I mean, just,
Oh,
Am
I
I-
get you.
am
I
I
know, she's, what
not reading
what
this
I
correctly?
assume, you're planning for the contingency built in within the budget, I get it. Just because I think what you're gonna have to, once we decide what we're doing here, you're gonna have to reproduce the budget so that the next meeting, then we can finalize whatever we're going to do and we can see exactly what might happen. right?
Yeah,
And just because we're budgeting doesn't mean you have to spend it. So going along with you, Carolyn, when it comes time to talking about whether it's 5.5 or 5.25, that's gonna be in my head. Because I'm not gonna go along with 5.5. But, so we have to understand that there's gonna be a variance there that hopefully through good management and good staffing, we'll be able to overcome. And we'll get money back off that budget.
correct.
If we're giving them the tools that they need to succeed, I view that as very important,
mhm.
right? Because has been the historical complaint, that we've been behind the 8 ball. So now we're coming forward and saying, okay, what will get us competitive? And he's telling us, right?
And we've answered.
And we see it. And so now we're responding. So it's kind of hard not to respond when it's right in front of us.
So not only have we responded to point number 1, starting salary, point number 2, starting salary dispatches, but we've also responded to point number 3.
We'll do number
which is
3
the-
next.
We don't need to. They have discretion up to 15%.
No, that was last year. That doesn't carry forward. That is
Does
last
that carry
year.
forward?
And the salary ranges carry forward unless the commission changes them. The salary ranges for this year do include still that up to 15%
So your budget includes the discretion of 15%?
It doesn't include it, but it allows for it.
So this budget, this is the first I've heard of this. So this budget
The salary-
includes a discretionary spending of up to 15%.
No,
Okay.
For new.
the up to 15% discretionary is only on the adopted salary ranges. This budget.
So when was that policy put into place?
Yeah,
Last
because I'm
year?
reading 5% from last year.
Pulling up this, what was approved from last year, and it said 15.
Okay, so last year, what they approved, is that applicable in FY '24?
If we didn't make any changes to the salary ranges, yes, because those salary ranges would continue forward until the commission adopted new salary ranges.
Okay, so I think for the record, we should handle, there's a motion and second on the floor, we can vote on that, and then we'll go talk about the discretionary. Because obviously, this is the first time most of us have ever heard that it's gonna be applicable, and what is the impact of that, and I wanna hear from the chief, because he's recommending a different thing. So, I'll call the question.
All right, so we called the vote. Let's call it again. So all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, now let's move on to the discussion regarding the discretionary percentage of raising the salary or giving people more money for experience. Chief?
We've never had that before here, that, I just learned about this before, so I recommend this plan.
So much for that, but go ahead.
This is the plan I recommended. If you got 5 years experience, it's 2.5, 6 to 10, 4%, 10 years, 5%.
All right, so what you're saying is do away with the 15%, just do it in this block where you have it here, 1 to 5, 6 to 10.
When I
10
wrote
plus?
this, I didn't know we had this discretion to go up to 15%.
Once again, Ken's question, what do you need to be competitive on a 10-year veteran that wants to come to Florida? Is 5% on 66, that's 5 times, that's 70,000.
Yeah, that's competitive.
So, well, this only applies to the police, this 5%, and in your world, Lynn, you have a 15% discretion.
That is what I proposed for this year. Carolyn is correct that last year it was approved up to 5%. But we have found with the police department that that wasn't enough to satisfactorily get employees. We've struggled filling town hall positions over the year, though we are currently full. We did struggle to find applicants with the bottom of the salary range what it was,
But that's a different thing.
but that's a different thing.
So we don't have, just for the record,
Yeah.
we don't have a 15% discretionary allocation.
It's never been a discretionary allocation. It is, when you have vacant positions, if you have a new hire, you had, what was adopted last year was that the manager could increase it by up to 5%.
5, not 15.
That 5%, by my understanding and how I would have budgeted, is based on the fact that you have an employee that was either previously making more than the bottom of the salary range, and therefore it's made up by the reduction. So a good example that I can just off the top of my head, when we replaced the building clerk last year, Lisa Burns, who had been here for 20 years, was at near the top of the building clerk's salary range. When we replaced her, the bottom of the salary range is where the new person started, but there was a large differential between those two,
Right.
which is where you can make up the difference.
So
It's
that
not
just,
So where-
that's your understanding, that difference is discretionary on the part of the town manager.
The way
So,
But that-
to go outside the guideline.
to go up to above, and that was adopted by the commission last year as part of the FY '23 budget.
But I don't understand. So because of Lisa's her salary when she left, that's why you would use your discretion to increase an incoming? It should
No,
be
but if
based
you-
on what
but-
that
but
person's
if you're-
qualified.
Right, but if your incoming person is qualified and you need to
Right.
pay higher, you have it because you're most likely not going to hire somebody at the top of the salary range where Lisa was.
Right, shouldn't have
But
anything to
it
do with
gives you
that.
some discretion in what was already budgeted for that position's line item.
So is it 5 or 15%?
So it's
5.
5% for 23. I'm asking for a 15% discretion for 24. The reason being, in the police department, there's no guarantee with the positions they have open that they will be able to fill all those positions day one, 10/1 of 23.
Okay, so my question is, who raised that 5 to 15%?
That was my suggestion.
Your
as part
suggestion.
of everything that would be adopted by the commission as part of the budget.
Just curious, when was that done? When did you propose that? 'Cause I'm
In the
sorry, I
July
don't
meeting
remember.
and the August meeting it was in there.
We didn't talk about it because we didn't get to most of
Because
the
we
budget.
didn't get to the salary stuff.
Okay, but what's the alternative? If you're advocating for someone to get 15% more, but your limit is 5, what would you do? You'd have to come to the commission,
I'd have to
correct?
come to the commission, yes.
So here's the issue, is that we have a 15% discretionary amount that you're asking for, that we have no idea what that equates to.
But it would never exceed what is already budgeted for that position's line item.
Okay, so we'd have to put a bracket around that approval
Each
that
position,
says that, so that's what you're saying, that what you're requesting is 15% rather, but no greater than the salary amounts that we're paying.
this,
The salary range.
the salary
Right,
range
yeah.
is the whole range for a position. If we have a position and it becomes vacant, that, because you've got somebody that's been here that has most likely had increases due to performance, that type of thing, they're going to be above the base salary, which allows that line item to have some leeway in what we would pay a person to replace them.
I
Okay?
follow you, yeah.
In the case of the police department, their vacancies right now are all budgeted at the bottom of the salary range. So the decisions the commission has made today are going to completely change that,
So that we're
those
perfectly
calculations.
clear on this policy, because this is a policy decision that we're making. I would suggest that you write the policy, send this to us so that it's at the next meeting, so that we can vote on that policy. We can have a consensus today saying that we'll go along with it or not go along with it. But let's have a clear parameter of what that policy means, so that the chief knows going forward, you know going forward, so it's not like, well, I didn't know that. So we have a clear parameter as to what the policy is going to be. Does that make sense?
It does.
Thank you.
And the policy goes across staff and police. We're trying to get through the police
Correct.
first. Okay. So currently, is it our understanding that the discretion is 5% that you're going to propose
That's what
or
was it that-
15%?
The new one was 15.
I proposed for FY 24-15 because of the,
Okay.
It's two different topics right now.
No,
What he's saying is different than what she said.
correct.
Correct.
But the 15 would erase the 5. That's what I'm getting at. It's only for starting employees.
No, it would
No.
not. It would not erase they're two different things. What he's requesting,
And it's up to a 15.
what he's requesting, if he sees somebody that he wants, and we have 3 open positions.
Right.
Right?
Mhm.
So there isn't a variance in a higher salary versus a low salary coming in. He has somebody coming in that has 10 years experience, he wants to hire him, he looks down on the sheet, says, I can give this guy 5% or woman 5% more than the base salary to be competitive. I hope that's competitive. What
And
she's
that is-
saying is slightly
Is
different.
15.
and what Scott is proposing in terms of pay for experience is something that is normally negotiated as part of your collective bargaining agreement. Either that or you create a level 1 officer, a level 2 officer, or a level 3 officer with different minimum experience requirements in order to reach those levels. You don't just automatically say that you're going to give a flat percentage to everyone that has so much experience.
Well, no, that's his discretion. He may not, even though if he has 10 years' experience, he or
No,
she.
if this is approved the way Scott's written it, the way I would read it is if I'm hiring an officer with 4 years of experience, they get an additional 2% onto their base salary. If I'm hiring somebody with 8 years of experience, no matter what that experience is, whether it's in experience in Boynton Beach, if it's experience in bumfuck, sorry, the language, middle of nowhere, North Dakota, because they've got experience, we're automatically giving them 4%.
I'm not reading
It's
it that
not
way.
contingent
Yeah.
on what type of it. If they have experience as a military police officer, we're not putting any criteria to what that experience is.
Well, that would be the discretion then of the chief. So would you automatically, as
If
Lynn is
they have
suggesting?
6 to 10 years prior police experience, you qualify for the 4% on top of your starting salary.
But you
So
would
you
look
are-
at what is that experience and
Sure.
do they deserve the 4% or should it be something up to?
But that's not the way this is
So
written.
wait,
It's
wait,
not
wait,
written
wait,
as
wait,
a
wait,
wait.
two. It's written as
First of
a-
all, if the person that he's hiring, if he doesn't feel they're qualified within that range, he's not gonna hire them, right? Is that pretty accurate?
Correct.
Okay, so what we're voting on, I still say are two different things. What he's saying is what he wants it to be, right, and kind of what Lynn is saying, is that this is not necessarily, unless you want it discretionary. Do you want this discretionary? I mean, because then you start to get in trouble.
The discretionary that is proposed for 24 is a lot higher than.
No, forget what she's talking about. That's a different topic altogether. What this is, what you're asking for here, I believe, is that if you're able to hire somebody with 10 years experience, that here is their salary range right here. This is the starting pay for somebody that comes here with 10 years experience.
As a certified police officer. you have
Right.
10 years
So
experience.
this would be the starting pay. That's what we're voting on. So, or not voting on anything, but that's what we're discussing. So that would be the starting pay. What Lynn is talking about is completely different than what this is, in my view. I
Yes.
see it as two different things. So with this range, let's talk about this range first, then we'll talk about that. Does this make us competitive in the police circles? Then I'm gonna ask for Lynn's opinion as to whether or not this makes sense to do at this time in conjunction with everything that's going on.
This makes us competitive because, I mean, starting salaries of 66 is how the other, these two, Palm Beach and Gulfstream, they're structured the same percentage for experience.
Okay.
That's there's
Highland Beach is starting at 70, so if you had a guy starting at 66 and he had 4%, you'd be at that 70 right there. But that was just an incentive to attract people with experience to come to the department. I was trying to raise the base salary, which we did, and then keep everybody at a $2,500 raise to give everybody, if you had an officer coming in.
We got that, that's done.
Yeah.
That's done, you got that.
It was brought to my attention that we do have a dispatcher, though, if she's making 52, got a $2,500 raise, she'd be making 54,500. If you have a dispatcher coming in with no experience, now she's at 55, she's gonna be higher than.
That's the problem.
But that's just one, that's the only example.
Yes.
That'll help in one of
No public
You're
comment?
gonna have it on your roadside too, on your low end.
If you raise it to the starting
Just
at
because
35.
We
yeah.
influx to the starting salary higher.
It's already, you're gonna have anytime you're gonna have a
Hey,
problem.
Chief, you gotta speak closer to the microphone. We gotta understand what you're saying. You guys having a debate over there.
It's
We're
a
kind of having.
$500, it was a $500 difference.
So do
Because
you,
we raised it higher than I had asked, because you raised it to 55.
All right, so why don't we do this? From what I'm hearing is that there's some issues out there that we're gonna have to resolve in some capacity. So if we have the inclination to go down this path, what I think you're gonna have to do is go back and look at what the impact of that is gonna be and then report back. And what we have to correct in that process, whether it's the salary, you have to come back and say, well, there's this problem with the salary differentiation, so we're gonna have to do this. But we wanna do what's right. I mean, you have a commission up there that wants to do what's right and what I believe is fair and be competitive, and what's best for the town. But we have to have information. So perhaps the two of you could get together and kind of go over this and then report back maybe at the next meeting, brief item. But today, perhaps we can talk about the inclination of what the commission is willing to do based upon what the reality is going to be. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
I have a simple question.
Go ahead.
Lynn and the chief, this person that's $500 short, do you have the discretionary ability to bring that person even
No,
currently? You don't,
currently no.
okay?
Well, why don't we just give it to them?
Right.
You just vote.
I don't know what that
We're
means.
talking
I
about
don't know what it
motion.
means.
Well, we're talking about $500.
But no, there might be other impacts. So they need to sit down, and listen, I don't know any business that would put up with this. They need to sit down and present to us what the situation is gonna be and what the impact is going to be. That is the right way of doing it.
I'll have to
Because
pull
I
all
can't
the
pick out-
salaries and compare, sure.
And look, we have an inclination to raise what we did. We have an inclination to grant these experience qualifications if somebody comes in with 10 years. They're hearing from us that we are supportive of that. Now, what is the impact of that? That's what they're gonna have to come back to us and tell us what that impact is. And Lynn, as the manager, is gonna have to come back and report as to how she's going to correct whatever the current salary is and what is that impact on the budget. Maybe none, or maybe it's a lot. We don't know. I don't want to pick one person out and say that $500, because we don't know. And that's not a right thing. In my view, that's not the right thing to do. They come back to us, they tell us what the situation is. We've given them the policy that we're going to approve. Now, what does that mean? What
Yeah,
is
we're not
the
talking
economic
about a
impact?
big ordeal either. It's
No.
how many dispatchers?
It was 4.
4. Right? So that's 4 people. So when you come back and say, hey, this is what's gonna happen if we vote this in, this is what will happen to this, like, to your point, somebody's making 50,000 and is already here, and we give another 2,500, you're only at 52.5.
Right. No.
So you're underneath what this new person who walked in the door is gonna make.
Right.
So that's the ramifications that we're talking about. So the pebble in the pond, what's gonna happen if we do this? So do we need to change that in a separate way?
This is the only example of dispatch. I'd have to pull the salaries of police officers to what,
You've got at least one officer that by raising the starting salary to 66,
we can't consider.
even with a
incentive.
$2,500 increase, is going to be below the 66.
Just one.
Oh, so, well, we gotta do what's
One
right.
officer.
Right, we-
Right.
So it doesn't.
But I can't believe we have to sit here and discuss this much on $500, and that you guys don't have the ability to solve this. That's amazing. That, I'm not criticizing you, that the town does not allow you to raise a dispatcher $500 to hit the minimum? That's,
Well, that's what I'm saying. Why can't we just approve
Right.
it by the
If
commission that
anybody
we're
is
gonna give you the
under-
discretion? Because we're talking about a couple
two
grand.
employees,
Right.
We could vote to bring them up to the,
right.
just to, as a salary, yeah, as a salary.
I think we've done that before, when we've done this salary years ago.
Why don't we just do it right now?
Well, I guess you'd be voting on saying anybody who's underneath the minimum will be brought up to the minimum.
Correct.
If you vote in
And then-
66,000 and somebody's at 62, who's been here 4 months, are you gonna keep that person at 62 when you just raise the starting officer at 66?
No.
Or would you say that motion would almost have to be amended that any starting officer who has started within, that is underneath the 66,000 that is starting now, would automatically raise to that number?
Yes.
Well, I'm looking at the actuals and I only see one.
Well, that's,
Two.
Officer, yeah.
Two.
yeah, you're,
One
Yep.
dispatch.
So why can't we do
No,
that
2
right here at
officers
this meeting?
and,
you could make a motion.
All right, so we have
All three.
agreed that we've already made motions that the Ocean Ridge starting salary for police is gonna be 66,000. That's been agreed to. Ocean Ridge starting dispatcher is 55,000. And now I guess I make a motion that any dispatcher or policeman that is underneath those limits would be raised up to those starting salary limits.
Second.
All right,
Solve that problem?
public comment.
Hello, I'm Frederick Stang. I'm one of the employees with the police department. I think the easiest solution here, instead of the ripple effect that would be created by raising one or two people's salaries just to get them up to the minimum, the easiest way to do it is if you're gonna increase the starting pay by 4,000 or 5,000 respectively, increase everybody's pay by that 4,000 or 5,000 respectively. Then there's no ripple of resentment or anything in the staff. My thought.
Thank you.
Okay.
Boy, is this a hornet's nest. Victor Martel, 46 Harbor Drive South. God, I love you. I think that these guys should be paid tremendously, and I think that any kind of experience pay is absolutely gonna cause a mess. Because what if you got a guy that's been 25 years, he's half retired, maybe I'll go to work for Ocean Ridge for a while. And now there's guys here that work their butts off, and this guy's getting 80, 70, and this other guy's getting 66. I think we just ought to have the base pay and then give Scott the discretion of 15% for experience and not have these 10 years, he gets this, 10, you know, he could have 10 years experience and have lousy experience. And a lot of times when you hire somebody, you don't know what they're
Who's
truly
not
like.
gonna hire 'em?
No, that's not true, because you don't know what they're truly like until they start working. That's the reality of it. Experience doesn't mean anything to me. Experience means, yeah, you've been in the force. Yeah, you've been this. Yeah, you've been that. Guess what? You might hire him. Scott's a nice guy, thinks he's great. And the guy might be a jerk, or the woman might be a jerk. It's such a, when you hire people, and Jeff, you know that. When you hire people, you never know until they work. You know, I always say, slow to hire, quick to fire. I mean, the situation is get great people and pay them well, but don't bring in people to be competitive. I can tell you right now, I know the captains of Boynton Beach, they are way down on their officers. They're getting people out of the police academies and trying to groom them. So it's not just here.
No, sir.
It's everywhere. So it's not just a point of competitiveness, it's a point of, it's everywhere. You can't even get waiters at a restaurant. So we put it all on this, and granted, money is important, but it's not just money. You know, we have 1,800 people. Are we comparing the populations to see the salaries? You know, are you comparing somebody at 60,000 that's in a 40,000 population and we have 1,800? There's all these different ramifications. But the last thing I would want is somebody to start here and they're getting made more than them. That would be, you know, it's like having your employees and they find out that somebody's making more money than them. And all of a sudden what you did is you just caused a huge problem in your office or your business or anything like that. So I don't think this experience thing is a good idea in the sense of a flat rate, like 2%, 5%. I think leave it to Scott, give him the base pay plus 15, you know, your discretion up to 15%, and then base it on his judgment. And, you know, I think that keeps everybody happy and not any resentment of your officers because some guy just came in and you're not doing more than that. That's just-
Thank you. All right, back to the commission. Any other discussion?
So we're gonna wait for a proposal to come back on the 15%, or are we just gonna say
Well, wait, you made a motion regarding, we haven't,
the raise the two people up to the.
right, so we have to finish with that motion process, and then we can do the other part. All right, so is there any other
You had a
discussion
Yeah.
regarding the motion? All right, hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, now, we want to talk about the discretionary part.
Sure.
So you're gonna talk about it?
Well, we got 15.
Okay, I'll tell you
15
what, I mean, I think, all good points.
Yeah.
I don't agree with them, but I listen, because I think there is worth in hiring somebody with lateral experience that is beneficial. Now, how that equates and how we develop a policy is another story, so I'll even kick this back. I'll even kick this 1 to 10, this thing that chief that you did, and see what the impact of that is, and then come back with a recommendation of how to handle. You have an inclination on the commission, because there's good points that were brought up. So balancing it all out, what is the recommendation to the commission and what is the impact?
No, I agree with that 100%. I think the policy, if you're going to make a new policy, making it in 15 minutes while you're sitting here is not a good way to govern. So you should come up with a policy that what's going to be the ramifications. Say, rather than do the 1 to 5, 6 to 10, 10 plus years, what about you have a range from 0 to 15%. And then at that point, you can decide, because the discretion is, let's face it, you have the experience of how many years of doing this? So depending on you as the chief of police, to have that experience, to know I'm getting a good guy.
That's fair.
Okay, and that's really what we're depending on. I don't need to micromanage and tell you, hey, you can only add this much. If your discretionary income is up to 15%, then so be it. If you hire the wrong guy and it goes south, that's on you. Same with Lynn. But you come up with that policy, give it back to us so we can actually make a informed decision on it and look into it, because you never know what's going to happen with little items. Oh, geez, we
Yeah.
forgot think about that.
That's,
So,
we need to see projections and what all different scenarios would look like, because the numbers are what we're responsible
or maybe even
for.
a not to exceed. Say, okay, it's up to 15%, not to exceed a certain amount over the base salary. I mean, but those are different thoughts, the process to put into when you're making that policy.
But we do have a salary range chart,
Right.
so you can never eclipse
Yep.
the top.
Well, that's
Well, that's
the
built into the
whole-
policy.
That's what's in the
That's what they
policy.
gotta do. They come back, we'll give you the tools. You gotta tell us what tool you need.
All right, so we can
That's-
move on after from
yeah.
that. Is that right?
Yep.
Good with that? Then you have direction?
I have direction.
All right. What's next?
$1.
What about the
Night shift.
2,500 for everybody in the police department? Wasn't that somewhere here? And
Next, they're asking for.
yeah, I would
a
suggest the
night shift
increase for
differential.
salaries by 2,500 per year across the board. Correct? Scott?
For the night shift differential for dispatch.
Yeah, he said, I would suggest that we then increase all
$1
current
per
law.
hour as a supplement for the night shift, to entice people to work the midnight shift. On dispatch only.
See, I thought you had already voted on the 2,500 across the board for.
No.
No,
No.
that was the 5,000 that we approved for the dispatchers.
We did the base. for the
Base.
police.
That was the base.
Base 5,000,
PD to
This is-
66,
Yep.
dispatchers to 55.
55, and now we're talking about night shift.
But you've done 3
No, we gotta
votes.
do the base salary. Well,
Mm-mm.
we can do night shift.
I thought you
No, there
already
wasn't.
had voted on the 2,500.
I did too.
Yeah, you've done 3 votes.
Yeah,
so
we
I
did.
could've
No, it
sworn
was
you
not.
voted on the
You guys
So
not
did we do the
listening.
2,500? Is there a motion to that? effect?
No.
There is
Wait.
no motion.
No, there's no motion
I
for the
know.
2,500.
I made both of those. motions.
We did not do that.
What?
Right? We boosted the salary, the 3,500 salary up in fact, we boosted up $4,000.
Right.
And then we boosted up the dispatching money. We did no discussion regarding increasing all law enforcement salaries by $2,500 per year yet. We might have talked about it a little bit, but there was no vote and there was no motion.
Correct, there was a start of it and then you guys
Okay.
stopped it.
So, having
Public
said
comment.
that,
You need public, I'm all for it. I think,
Well, then make a motion.
yeah, make a motion, then we can have
No
public
public
comment.
comment?
I just
Let's
asked-
make a motion,
That's for retention.
and then we make a motion, and then we have public comment. That's the,
Oh, sorry.
Make a motion, we increase all current law enforcement salaries by $2,500 per year.
Second.
is there a second?
I did.
He did.
You did? Okay, public comment. No Come on.
Tim Cassidy, 7 Hudson Avenue. And so I'm looking at the numbers, as proposed right now, it's gonna be a $600,000 increase on the police line. And nobody appreciates our police more than I do. $2,500, just throw that on top of an increase last year, 18.5% for everyone seems egregious. Just throw that on there, just bonus. Last year seemed like was a bonus. The taxes were up 18.5% in this village, and now we're going at this again. Again, how does this flow through in the budget? I don't know, but this is your biggest budget line. This item right now you're discussing is the biggest budget line. And I just think it's unnecessary.
Thank you. So the 32 employees for the police department, correct?
It's only 20.
It's 80,000,
It's-
2,500.
20 times 2,500.
With 20 or,
19 employees,
I'm sorry?
19, 20.
Oh,
I'm not-
Okay, so you have 19, so 19 times 2,500. It's $47,500.
Right.
That's what we're increasing the budget by giving out the $2,500 to each one of the police
Correct.
department dispatchers. So everybody on the same page? So there's a motion and a second. There's discussion. Any other discussion by the commission?
Can we see what this all looks like on paper? I mean, we're just throwing numbers out there and, you know, using our calculators on our phones. And, you know, look at it all in one place.
She's hopefully gonna bring back a budget in the September meeting so that we can approve it.
I would also,
Well,
also point
I'm
out
not gonna
that
be
the
here.
chief has put together this memo because he's having trouble hiring people. And obviously he's worried about retention as well. So he's trying to take care of the police force, his guys, so that we keep the officers we have.
So the 2,500 is a direct addition to the budget, the $47,500. I mean, that would definitely increases our budget by that amount.
Yep.
So, and the one person, $500 and for the dispatch, and the other, or no, two people, I guess, and then one person for the police department that went up to meet. So the total is around 50,000, what we just did, that increases the number in the budget.
Yep.
In real money. Okay?
Yep.
All right, so all those in,
we're not talking about, like I said before, overtime. We haven't gotten
No.
any answers on health insurance. I mean, these are all factors in this budget item.
okay.
I mean, travel and per diems up 327%. I mean, I'm just trying to get my head around this whole budget. It's our biggest line, our biggest item.
Travel and per diem that was with the incentive for the take-home car, that's why. The add-on for the take-home car incentive that was approved last year to be reapproved this year.
Go ahead.
The retirement contributions were up dramatically from your July budget to the August budget. That was never explained.
That's because we got the new ranges for the FRS calculation for the next year, which all went up dramatically.
And what's been accomplished on health insurance and investigating alternatives?
I'm waiting for quotes on gap insurance, which would move us from the HMO that we're at right now to a PPO. I have quotes for AV Med. Some of the challenges that I have seen with AV Med are the different network and the fact that AV Med was started by the Chamber of Commerce of Miami. So all the network doctors are primarily in a 3-county area of Florida: Miami, Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach. So if you've got kids that go off to college, or if you're traveling, your ability to run into an in-network doctor is small, and they have no out-of-network coverage on some of the policies, but it would be a huge savings. So I'm waiting on the total United Healthcare with the gap insurance. Otherwise, our Blue Cross plan, staying the same as it is, increased only 0.65%.
Okay, so I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. All right, next thing.
$1 per hour for dispatchers, nighttime. Did I skip something? No.
So you have $1 per hour settlement, addition to base, say, pay bills, reward, reviews, pay period. Could you explain this a little more, Scott, please?
They have a hard time with dispatchers that would want to work a 12-hour night shift, so there was just $1 an hour addition to entice them to work the night shift. It would only affect two employees.
So talking $12 a day. Right?
What's that?
No, it's a big,
No, how's it figuring? You presented this to me yesterday.
It's a 12-hour shift and it's
It's a
a,
12-hour shift.
so it's $12 a day.
It's $80 paycheck.
Mhm.
It's not
Which is
the
the
base
2 week
salary,
period,
so it's
yeah.
basically just a line item in the paycheck.
Yeah, I mean, most businesses do it.
Most
Nurses
people
get
have
it, you know, everybody gets
I have no problem with it.
Right.
That's gonna make them happy. I'll make a motion to that extent.
I'll
Do we need
second
to
it.
do public
It's
comment?
very reasonable.
Maybe we will. We gotta go through the motion process. So you made the motion?
He made the motion.
You
I
made a
seconded
second? Okay, public comment.
Who made the second?
it. I did, Phil.
That's very reasonable.
There's no run on public comment. All right, public comment, back to discussion in the commissioner?
Fine with it.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, is that everything
Everything police.
from the chief?
yes.
Do you have anything else, Scott?
I do not, I will work with Lynn on the discretion to.
The policy?
experience.
All right. What's next on our? The salary changes for the staff. You want to just tackle that?
Sure. The police have been done separately, now we're talking staff. And if I remember correctly, there's 6 employees on staff, Lynn,
There are
excluding the part-timer.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or excluding the part-timers, 5, 6, 7, excluding the part-time.
7 including yourself?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so we don't get into this prolonged discussion on this. I know that you've had numerous COLAs and all that going on. I have a very simple solution here. You have up to a 5% merit that you can give to whoever you think deserves a 5% merit.
Right, so does the police department, and they do.
Right, but I'm trying
We're
to
just talking
separate
about-
the
we're talking
police.
about staff now.
So that's your call on the 5% merit. So then, now we want to do something because you brought up quite a bit that the cost of living in Florida has gone up. So here's what I would like to do, and commissioners obviously will discuss it. I was going on a number that you only had 6 employees because it wasn't including you in that package, so I'll stay with my 6. You get $10,000. You decide how to distribute that $10,000 to your staff, take care of the cost of living problems.
That are unique to this year.
Correct.
Because when we had the discussion last year, it was a one-time stipend that was approved.
It was a one-time
Plus the
stipend
5%.
because it was only paid one time. That doesn't mean that's the only time it's ever gonna
Okay,
be
we
paid.
know how you feel, and that Steve's making I think a,
I'm trying to
Good
make a
suggestion.
simplified point here, a simplified process for you.
I would say that anticipates town staff turnover. I'm sorry, but you just raised the police department
Correct.
salaries
They're set- that-
significantly, and you're telling the rest of the town staff that they are not of the same value as the police department.
We're not saying that.
Yes, you just gave them significant increases to their base
It's two different-
salary.
Wait.
two different jobs.
you know,
So let me
Down a
ask you a
notch.
question,
Let's do
because
this.
the same analysis we don't have that we went through the police force, because you might be very right. But the trouble is, we don't have the same analysis.
But do you have
Because
this?
our
So-
positions, other than the town clerk and the deputy clerk, are not the same as with any of the other positions. Other towns do not have town treasurers. They have finance directors, but as the town manager, I hold the finance director title. Other towns have utility workers that handle water and wastewater, we have public works employees that contract to take care of all the maintenance and oversee fixing those, which are all contracted out services. They are not a apples to apples comparison with other employees. Our building department would be the closest, and we've only got one employee there, and I gave you the comparisons. The titles are slightly different, but our building clerk is the same as what other communities have for similar.
Other communities do not have up to 5% merit pay plus a cost of living stipend. They do not, and I did ask this question of a lot of different municipalities in a public workshop at the League of Cities. I've asked it of our neighboring communities, and nobody does it this way.
That is because they generally raise their salary ranges, which takes care of it.
We did that a year ago.
Where are we within that salary range? Where are we? What is it that you need? We heard from the chief what he needs. What is it that you need on that level?
Contractually, right now, our town clerk, and I provided this information,
I know, but it looks pretty good. That's why I'm kind of surprised. But you guys fit in pretty good with the minimum.
Yeah.
for the town clerk,
Town clerk.
the town clerk, the minimum is 75. We brought her up to 82, so yes, she does. For the town treasurer, again, there isn't a comparable. The deputy clerk starts at 48.5. Deputy clerks in Montana, Jupiter, and Highland Beach all start at over 50.
We're over 50.
No, our base salary for the deputy clerk,
I'm looking at it, 52.5.
that's the assistant. That's the deputy. Ours is assistants. I don't believe we've got her at the deputy level.
How many are there? We have
We have
Kelly.
one. We have Kelly
deputy.
as the clerk,
Yeah.
and Trina is
The
the
deputy.
deputy assistant clerk.
At 52.5.
Then you've got the admin, and yes, they are. But cost of living, the employees can't go elsewhere and make more with the experience. And as town hall employees, when we sit here and the commission spends an hour giving the police department raise after raise.
Whoa, 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 I
down.
think
I
we
understand,
were
but
gathering information that we
That's
didn't
not
have.
fair. So
To
you
give you
have
an
to,
idea, contractually, since January of '22, the PBA employees received a $2,500 base salary increase on March 22. They also received backdated increases of up to 4% merit for that fiscal year. In April of '22, the dispatch employees received a $7,500 base salary increase. The police department police officers then in February of '23 received another $7,500 base salary increase plus $5,400 prorated for FY23 annually for take-home cars. The town hall employees last year in September received a one-time 5.5% stipend, not added to their base salary. All employees, PBA and town for FY23 and FY24 are anticipated budgeted for up to 5% merit. The town clerk and the town public works supervisor were given an adjustment of $7,500 to their base salary in March, but that does not cover the building department, that does not cover the other public works employee, that does not cover the deputy clerk, that does not cover the part-time administrator, that does not cover the treasurer.
So now we're in the business of, we are giving bonuses as a municipality every year to everybody. That's what you're asking
I'm not
for.
asking for bonuses. I'm asking for increases to base salaries. That is what COLA is. It
That's
is
what we
an
did a
increase
year
to-
ago.
you're asking for a 5%
No, a year ago,
COLA
you did a
increase
one-time
across the board.
stipend. That is
Well, we
not
have
their
a
base
That's
salary.
5%.
5%.
Are you asking for a 5% COLA increase across the board?
I'm asking for a 5% merit, and I'm asking for an across-the-board either 3% COLA or 2,500 COLA.
So
And
give
so,
her,
but the
Just gave
same
the
question,
police department
the same, you know,
2,500.
first of all,
Lit.
don't take offense to what happened. If you were listening, and I know you were, we were looking at what the positions were and what does that equate to. So now you have to go through the same thing, that's all. So what is it within the position that is going to, where are we in that competitive scale? And what is that as opposed to, you know, you just have to explain it.
Where are we in the competitive scale is we are towards the bottom, if not the mid-range of it. And I'm asking for $2,500 adjustments to the base salary.
And where does that get us?
That would get the clerk's position. Spreadsheet.
Which spreadsheet is it, Lynn?
It is the one that says a flat 2,500% COLA on 10/1. That would get the town clerk to 89,125, the deputy clerk to 55,000, the treasurer at 94,800, keeping in mind she's been with the town for
Wait,
18
wait.
years.
Slow down a bit.
Go, please tell us what page it is in
In
the
which-
supplement. that
which
was
binder?
handed.
It's
20 minutes
also in the stuff that was sent to you today in
At-
one of the spreadsheets.
Right, they were sent at like 20 afternoon.
Right, but it was in,
What page is this, Kelly? Can you tell looking at your screen?
it is the 2,500 is the third pullout page from last week's.
Oh, last week.
It's
So it's not in the supplement.
It's in
in
your,
the supplement in the PowerPoint.
so which
but
one, which position are we looking at first?
I want to find the page we're on.
It's the personnel.
It's under
Yeah.
I'm looking at
personnel.
this thing. So if I'm looking at this administrative positions, we're gonna, let's look at town clerk
It was sitting on top of your
first.
desk when you arrived.
This is the one I got
It
today.
wasn't on mine.
That's an
Thank you.
interior page.
So you have on here administrative positions, town clerk, Ocean Ridge is 75,000, Jupiter 105.
Those are the salary ranges currently comparatively.
Right. So
So if you
I'm
go
look, so if I look at the
to-
minimum, let me finish. If I look at the minimum, Tana's at 77, Juneau's at 72, Hyman's at 66, and we're at 75 for town clerk. Okay, then you go to the maximum. Now, the maximum would be time, I imagine, that they've been there. So even though this gives you a halfway decent look at what the different salary ranges are, it really doesn't tell us, like when it says minimum and maximum, like what does that maximum actually mean? Does it mean like if they've been there for 10 years, 5 years, or what?
The commission has never defined that.
Well, like ours says 115,000. And what is our town clerk making now? 75?
no, she's making
Because we gave her the
82,500.
increase, she's making 82,500.
82,500.
82.5. So that's,
If you go to, from what was handed out today, it is the 7th page.
What, the one that you emailed to us that I don't have a hard copy of?
What you just handed.
Yeah, or it's what you already have in your hand. It's just a copy to a PowerPoint of what you have in your hand, Carolyn.
10
So
million.
nothing has changed from what the PowerPoint
It's
to
one
what,
of the pullouts.
what
You
was
see the
in the
pullout?
pullout sheets from last.
It's in there.
So just read,
I
is
know.
it, does the town of Ocean Ridge FY 24 budget workbook, proposed budget, HR salary calculations, and multipliers worksheet estimator, is that?
Yes, and at the top
And
you'll
it would be
see,
helpful if these were numbered. I don't know, I'm just
at the
not seeing.
top you'll see in yellow where it says 25%, 2,500 COLA and up to 5% merit on the top of that worksheet. Or on your pullout,
It was on my desk when I arrived. Ken's missing his. Maybe it's in that, that's it.
Yeah, I didn't have it either.
She just handed this.
No, it's here.
identically,
I
it
didn't get that.
is
I didn't get that handed to
Oh,
me.
this
yeah, we
page.
printed
Okay.
it out.
2,500 COLA.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You know, some of our neighboring communities don't even do the 5% merit, they just do the cost of living.
so right now, what are we really arguing about? $2,500
This is
extra
the
bonus?
25%, 2,500 COLA.
I mean, because you're, the 5%
merit.
already on, I think we're agreeing with the 5% merit,
Well,
Up
that's
to,
our, we
yeah,
already
that-
have
right?
that.
So that's an agreement.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right, so we're, what this whole brouhaha is about $2,500.
I think I like
Per
Steve's idea.
You don't like the figure 10,000, give a number you want. Be 25 times 6 is 15,000.
15,000.
So Lynn, when we're getting all huffy about $10,000, it's $5,000 difference here.
But is that going to their base salaries or is it a
It's
one-time?
your
salary?
You've
discretion.
called
You
it.
have $15,000.
You called it a COLA.
And you decide.
No,
Right,
but in
but-
fairness, no, that's a good question she has.
Oh,
I'm
Are
asking,
we,
No.
are we
No.
allocating that amount towards the base salary?
do we
That's
split
what
the
it-
employees
it-
with their base salary or is it a one-time stipend?
It was
So
presented
what-
to us as a cost of living adjustment.
Yes, but that's not
Because
what
of this
Steve
year.
brought up.
And the unusual circumstances. No, his suggestion was 10,000 one-time payment to distribute as you see fit.
And I don't agree with that.
Well,
Yeah, I don't necessarily understand that either, and I'll tell you why. Because, it's a fluid situation. If the cost of living adjusted, then it has to go towards the base salary. What you're saying is, so next year, come FY '25, they go back to the previous salary.
They go back to their actual salary without the additional stipend. Yes, the
So
additional stipend.
basically,
We're saying, we gave the $7,500, what, 2 years ago? I think it was 2022, maybe last year.
You get
Last year.
5.5%. It wasn't 7,500, it was 5.5%.
I remember it's 7,500, but maybe
I
5.5
checked the
is
minutes.
7,500. Because of the work of the town staff during COVID and the inflation problems, the difficulties of life.
Mhm.
That's what we did last year. That was a one-time event. Now, you're saying we have inflation in Florida. It's between 6% and 9%, right? We're already saying a 5% raise. We're not even getting into a discussion, what if it's only 2% inflation and we're giving 5% raises? Should we only give 2% raises that year? We don't do that. We always go to the 5% merit.
maybe this
Which
is,
is-
what
which
you're
is
saying
why
is
you
you're
don't
going
do-
along with a 5% increase across the board?
the merit, that's already,
Merit.
that's what
Well,
we
we're
already
talking about the
do.
base salary. Are you proposing anything to the base
No.
salary?
Other
So
than the
base
ability
salary
to give,
stays flat.
correct.
Because we approved those increases last year, those ranges.
Well, the base salary stays flat until they do their evaluation and they get the 5%
Correct.
added to their base salary.
And then whatever money you want to
That
put
is
to a
the-
kitty.
That's a
The
merit
5% is the
adjustment to the
raise.
So
salary.
you could give them to their base salary up to 5%,
Correct.
correct?
Yes.
Talk to her.
Oh,
So I
Well, you're
mean-
looking at
I
us.
was just telling you, hey, that's what it
So
is.
I'm just trying to
The police
understand what's
department
going
can get up to
on.
5%.
No, stop.
No.
Stop.
We're not talking about the police anymore.
I know we're
But
not
that-
talking,
but that's
we've
no
decided
longer-
the police department supersedes anybody else.
No, I don't
We're
think
done
that's on
talking
the
about the
table
police
anymore.
department.
That 5% isn't on the table anymore for the, we just approved something different. I don't recall approving an additional 5% on top of everything else.
The 5% merit has been in the budget
Correct.
for all departments all
And
along.
that goes to the base salary.
That
That,
goes to
so
everyone's
next, the
base
year
salary.
after, their new base salary is whatever the base salary was the previous year, plus the percentage of merit increase that they got.
Correct.
Has anybody ever gotten less than 5% on their base salary?
I ask that question all the time. Yeah, but one guy did that right back there. Rick,
Yes, they have.
Who made us that?
Hmm?
Lynn, you understand that a small discrepancy between what I'm saying and you're saying. You're trying to do a salary increase, a pretty massive one, I would add. I'm simply saying inflation is up. We think it's coming down. Let's give the people the cash now. And they still get 5%.
Want to make a motion? Discussion, public comment?
Lynn would,
well, what is it that you're
Again.
proposing? What is that you're proposing?
He's proposed,
To be fair across the board to all the employees.
I'm not including the police. The police and the staff, in my mind, are two separate things. We've already settled the police situation. Let's leave that alone. Now we're talking the town staff.
Right, but what you're telling the town staff is that this commission does not value them, and the fact that their cost of living has gone up equally to the same cost of living as the people.
You are putting words in our mouth that it's not what we're saying, and we're done talking about the police. Can we move on and just talk about the staff? Okay, that is not right, Lynn. That's a political view. That is not what we're talking about.
How is police not part of staff?
Well, right now, we're talking about the staff, and I think that to say that we don't care about the staff and to look at the salary comparisons from the staff we have here and the pay we have here and to other communities, and to say we're not taking care of staff is a little bit disingenuous, because I think we are. Now, how we're doing the pay for the police department in order to get more employees to stay here for the police department and bring in police so we can have a police department. And being that you haven't been here for a long time, it's hard to understand how valuable this police department is to the town of Ocean Ridge. Actually, without a police department, we kind of lose our identity a little bit. So that is a very, very important part. Not to say that our staff or other staff is not an important part, but I do believe we are taking care of our staff right now. We're taking care of them, I think, in a very, very grand way. I mean, if you take the $7,500 that Billy got, the $7,500 that Kelly got in March, that was a huge salary increase. So to say that we're not taking care of them is completely wrong. Now, to say going forward, what we have to do is, now you get a 5% increase on we're saying we're okay with the 5% increase. What we're talking about, though, is the extra money added onto there because of the COLA or inflation. Now, in order to do that, that goes to their base salary for this year. However, next year it gives, and I'm going to put out there, the opportunity of, if everything goes down, I don't have to do that.
We don't ever have to do it. We only did it once.
I understand that, but we've done it a couple times. Did it, I think, last year, and we've done it in the past. So that's, when did we do, a couple of years ago, we did one that was pretty good size
All the way across.
because of COVID.
Or we could do what Gulfstream does, and you don't call it merit-based. You could call it a 5% COLA raise. And then it's not based on merit, and leave it at that.
Well, I think merit pay should be, the idea of merit-based pay is that you get an evaluation, and then at that point, are you worth the 5%? Or are you worth 3% or 4%? So maybe it makes your employee work a little harder.
Right before the
Lynn's evaluation will be coming up, and then she gets evaluated, and that's how her salary will increase.
I'm still trying, let me step back a little bit, because I agree with what you're saying. And I think it's not fair that you're being to us saying that we don't value the employees here, because that is furthest from the truth. Furthest from the truth. So how does it, just like the same exercise that we went through with the police is the same thing. And to compare it, to say, well, you just did it for them. No, where do we stand? What do we need to be competitive? What tool do we need to handle the job that's before us, right? So are our salaries, if they're already competitive, right, then doesn't warrant any type of increase because we're competitive, we're keeping up with the times. We found out with the police department that we were not. That we were grossly underpaying.
Salary ranges are competitive. That does not mean that the salaries themselves, the individual municipalities, I did not get the specific town clerk's salary, the specific deputy clerk's salary, the finance director's salary. They only gave salary ranges. I can't say that they're hiring and that their current employees are making more or less than our employees. Our salary ranges are competitive. That doesn't mean our actual salaries.
Well, they're on their websites, presumably. Right?
So for granting a 5%, if we go along with the 5%, call it what you want, and somebody's making 80, right? And now they're making 84.
84.
Plus a stipend.
No, that's.
No,
if you don't
we're not
use it.
Plus the
talking
one
about-
time,
talking
plus the one time, then
Well, why you weren't,
where are we, what in that equation makes you think that we're not valuing the employees?
Because I'm not asking for a stipend and a cost of living, I'm asking for a cost of living to their base and the merit. The stipend was the commission's idea.
Yeah, but not the same thing.
No, because a stipend doesn't go
For the
towards your base
But
salary
here's the point.
for FRS.
last time I added it up, Lynn, you were between 10% raises and 12% raises for the staff.
No,
It's 5% merit,
5% merit.
plus what we have charts here, 3.5%, 4.5%, 5%.
No,
So
those are
we're talking-
stipends that you guys asked for. I was
Right,
not
but you also have it
advocating.
as
We didn't ask for
percentages.
them.
No. So what I'm trying to say is, yes, people are spending more money on their groceries. Here's some money to help you out as inflation comes back under control, and you get a 5% raise. And my money figures, if you have 6 people, and let's say it's $18,000, everybody gets $3,000 or whoever you want to divvy it. I don't see that that's not valuing.
There has to be compromise here, right? I mean,
There's compromise. I will do whatever the commission directs.
Well, you know what we're talking about? We're talking about, he offered 10, she wants 15. So that's what we're talking about.
No, she's not
it's-
happy with that.
What we're talking about is whether it goes to the base
Yeah.
salary or if it's
No.
a one-time payment.
Yeah, but if you add it to the base salary, let's do the numbers. You add it to the base salary, guy's making 80 grand. I didn't mean to pick on you there, Billy. Guy's making 80 grand. You add the 5%, that's 4 grand. He's at 84. Now you add the 2,500 as base salary. So you've given him almost a 10% raise, okay?
Yep.
Now, that money is now every year, now you're paying, not only you're paying, I think it's 40%, I think we figured out, it's 40% for all the extra stuff that goes along with it. The FRS, that the town has to pay. So you're adding another 40% onto the 10%. So you're at the point where you're at almost, if you add everything the town has to pay for that whole year, it's almost 15% raise.
Yeah.
So,
The 2,500 is at the first of the year. It's not on top after they got their
you're
5%.
still having to pay the total amount. If you're putting out a base salary, you're still adding it to his base salary or whomever's base salary. So that total percentage of that base salary is X amount to 80,000, and you're adding 2,500 plus 4 at 6,500. So figure it out.
Yeah.
How much is that percentage? So what I'm saying is that I think we forget a lot about the past. I mean, there was a time in 09 and 10 where we cut salaries. You know what? Nobody left. Just kind of throwing it out there because we didn't have any money coming in and the town really had to tighten its belt. Now we're talking about, giving out money because the inflation's going up. Okay, that's actually a very generous town that does that. And along with a 5% merit pay on salaries that are actually commensurate with the surrounding communities. So I'm just trying to figure out why this is becoming so contentious. And I don't think it should be, because we really are, I think, doing the right thing for our employees. And the town has to do what's right in order to retain employees. It has to do what's right also in order to bring in employees, which is what the police department was all about. So, having said all that, what's the pleasure of the commission? What do you want to do?
I would advocate for up to 5% merit-based increase in salary and giving Lynn 10 to 15, whatever you think, to give out as stipend to however she sees fit. And it's not added to the salary and we're not paying benefits on it.
2,500 times 6 is 15.
Right. Ken, what are you thinking over there?
Well, let's think about the merits of that suggestion. I'm just thinking it through a little bit. if you give them the 15,000 all up front, is that paid over the year? Is it paid just one check on October 2nd? They get whatever is determined
That's what
to
happened
be
last
that
year, right?
bonus, and then
Then
that's
they
it.
can
As it's a
leave.
one-time payment and not going to
Can't
their
protect.
base salary, it'd be a
Nope.
one-time check.
Right, we can't protect ourselves from somebody walking out the next day. But I'm not going down that.
So-
Say, what do you think about splitting it off? No, it's a one time. If you're gonna have a
So
stipend.
what is, you're recommending a 3% increase
I do.
across the board on a COLA increase? That's what your recommendation is?
That's what I had recommended prior to all of the increases that you gave to the police department.
Plus the 5.
Plus the.
Now, plus the
So
5.
That's
Now,
it's
I would
8%.
leave the increases that you've done for the police department
Can we
and
please,
either do 3% or 2,500 across the board for the town hall staff, plus the 5%, which would be PD and town hall.
So hang on.
I
Well,
think it's apples and oranges, which is the point that Jeff was trying to make. Police department, town staff.
But let's go one step further.
But I
If you
wanna
do the
say-
math, okay, your 5% plus 3% equals a guy making $80,000 equals the raise of 5% into $2,500. It's the same thing. It's that we're just trying not to attach it to a base salary, so we're not paying it year after year after year in this compound. That's really to me,
But
And the
the
benefits
5%
attached.
merit is being compounded.
no, the
Yes.
5% merit
Yes.
is. But
Yes.
Not
the stipend will not. Because it's one time. Now, I don't know what's gonna happen next year. Whether the inflation keeps going up or it drops out, or who knows? But that's my reasoning on why not to put it as part of the base salary. Because if you put it as a base salary, you're basically giving an 8% raise. That's what you do.
Right. And that's on top of, you already made some allocations to,
Some employees.
Yeah,
right? Did you do that already?
Yeah.
So isn't a part of that figure taking into consideration this whole inflation figure that you're talking about?
It was to bring those positions to be competitive.
Competitive, okay. So are we competitive in those positions? That's the issue.
Well, I would think that we would have
I'm
brought,
asking her, are we competitive in those positions?
When we did those increases back in March, yes.
Are we competitive in those positions today?
In terms of salary range, yes. I don't know what other communities have done in terms of new hiring for those positions. So all I have is their salary range. That does not mean, similar to what we've talked about, of up to additional discretionary on top of the base for positions, whether other communities have that.
well, isn't it logical, Ken, that if in March we were not competitive in more than 2 positions, that we would have gone competitive in all 6 positions?
It would have made sense to me.
Right.
I would ask the same
So-
series of questions then.
So we didn't need to. So to move the discussion along, I think Lynn was kind of agreeing, but I couldn't track. 5% merit,
up to.
up to 5%, that's, Lynn makes that
Yeah.
decision, she's the boss. And then $2,500 to employees as a stipend. Did you agree to that in the end, or are you trying to tag the $2,500?
She wants
No,
a base salary. She
Which isn't
wants
gonna
a
I
apply.
base
prefer
salary.
base salary, but I will do it as a stipend. And you've already agreed, I thought, to the 5% merit for the PD.
I think it's in the
Again,
contract.
When
Let's,
we-
let's stay
and
focused.
It's in the
again,
PBA contract
that's fine.
anyway, so it's not even worth discussing, it's 5.1%.
That's,
Okay, so what do we need to do?
Make a motion.
Okay, so make a
I think
motion.
Carolyn tried, so.
Oh, you did?
She
Yeah.
just
Go ahead.
needs to be more definitive.
Okay, I would like to make a motion that we approve up to 5% merit increase in salary at the discretion of Lynn, and a $2,500 COLA up to a maximum of 15,000 total, one-time stipend.
Second.
Public comment?
Public comment?
Okay. Back to the commission. Any other discussion?
No.
Now, the 15,000 is basically the max amount
Yes,
total that you'd be paying.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's payable on October 2nd.
yep.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Uh,
Motion carries. Thank you. All right. Is that everything with the salaries?
I think so.
All right. You want to talk about lights?
Oh,
Something a little different?
You know, I have some issues, but I don't know, it does have something to do with salaries, but I think it's just errors in the budget. Do you want me to talk about that
Yeah.
now or at
Yes.
the end?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not going to mess up any of our motions, is it?
No, you
Okay.
don't have to make a motion, other than I would like Linda look into this. The town clerk salary on the budget,
Yes,
okay?
I've looked at it multiple times.
Okay, and you're saying I'm wrong?
Yes, because
Okay.
the line item that you're talking about,
Yep.
I'll show you right here.
Hey, Kelly, you can like,
You're
Make that
looking
bigger.
at,
50 grand, that's what.
right,
Yeah.
that is included in this line item right here, which
I wasn't
is
picking on you, Billy.
clerk's department, regular employees' salaries. Then you add, and that you can see is J16, which J16 is included in that calculation.
Mhm.
The total clerk department totals is that number from J16 plus the executive salary, which is the town clerk's.
Okay, but you're looking at the COLA schedule, so I can't tie that.
I've got it in, here's
The
the,
original.
This
Here's
one,
the
The
five-
original.
right here. This is the
Yeah,
August.
perfect, that's it.
here is the 5%, this is just 5% merit. So again, this is I-16 and
Lack of communication.
I, this one,
sorry.
Okay, so I was right?
yeah.
Okay, all right, we got that
What's,
fixed.
what's the answer?
The budget's gonna go up to a deficit of 89,000, so whatever we have in that budget, take away 100.
Now, there's gonna be all kinds of
Because
changes based on what
that
we
should
did
have been included
today,
in that.
so. well,
That should have been included in that.
No, what happened was.
But we did
she
have
had the 50
surplus,
grand in her schedule,
176,000,
But it never brought it
something
over
like that.
here, so instead of 146.
174.
it should
I remember
be
right.
174?
Yeah.
And that's still
196, But then
dependent,
all
That was
these
never
things
that
changed too.
clear if there was a
because
surplus.
the benefits, so-
that's still dependent, Phil, upon whether or not, the commission approves that position.
176.
Okay. You know, I mean, we were approving the position, but if we decided not to approve it, then you don't have to worry about the problem. Okay, couple more. Did you look at the other ones? I know I gave them to you at the last.
Hey,
minute.
Phil, would you speak up? Because I can't hear what you're saying.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Okay, if you look at your COLA schedule, you know, when you did the payroll the first time, you had $405,000 saying that we were increasing payroll 90, from 23 to 24. But if you had 3% COLA, I was only getting you, on your schedule, you said you're only adding 36,000, but 3% of last year's payroll was 113,000. So I couldn't figure out where it
The
is.
36,000 is the difference between all the total FY '23 payroll and benefits and the FY '24 budgeted. Because we've got vacant positions, we've got new positions, we have people who have come in and are making less than people were making last year. So their benefit costs are lower because their taxes are lower, their FRS contributions are lower, their salaries are lower. So all total, filling those positions at the base salaries prior to today's discussion for changes in the police department, that 405, therefore the $36,000 difference was the total because of, we had employees that had higher salaries and therefore higher FRS and tax contributions that the town paid versus what we have now, even though they're the same number of positions.
All right, I mean, that could be an explanation, but you're talking about you lose 2/3 of the COLA? That just seems unusual that you lower that many people, that you'd end up losing that kind of money. Because the same thing happens with the 2,500 schedule. I come up with, you should get, if you gave every employee $2,500, that would have been 75 grand into the pot, and your number only adds up to 38. So it just doesn't make sense.
I'll
to me.
recheck the calculations,
Okay.
but this spreadsheet, I haven't changed any formulas from year to year. I've only changed FY '23 and FY '24. I haven't changed anything
No.
other than,
Well, just so you know, and this isn't against Lynn, because I had the same problem with Tracy. The program is really the worst program I've ever seen for budgeting. And somehow you have to get involved in it with hands-on. It just shouldn't. It should be, once you put the input in, it should work. It just doesn't work. I mean, she's had issues that, you have to tick and tie every number, unfortunately. I don't know how these formulas change, but somehow they change. I mean, is there more of a program than just an Excel spreadsheet? Is this Excel added into something else?
no, this is all
So
Excel.
everything's done on Excel?
Yes, that's the way it's been done in the past.
Yeah, but really, if you think about that, the one you just corrected, you changed the formula, right? Remember, it was like 115 to 116? It was missing a number?
Yeah, but that's because that was a new position,
Oh,
so that's why that changed the formula.
I don't know.
We're still talking about salaries?
No.
Well, just trying to straighten out, it doesn't make sense.
Discrepancies.
I would like to say one more thing. I think we need to reexamine the policies that we have in place for determining the salaries and the merit, all that stuff, because there's a lot of things that just doesn't make sense to me. Think about this for a moment. We do this thing annually called, we're gonna give up to 5% for a merit, meaning that there was a good performance. Yet that adds to the base salary. And that makes no sense to me. Whereas I agree that maybe we should be giving a COLA increase of a 3% or a 4% or a 5% to the base salary, because that makes sense. Because going forward, it makes sense, because very rarely are we in a deflationary period where salaries go down, very rarely. So it just doesn't, what we're doing isn't making sense. We're saying, wait a minute, we're gonna give the merit, and so therefore, somebody does good this year. So we're giving them the bonus for doing it, but it's gonna go to their base salary. So next year, they're gonna get that regardless of whether they do a good job. But we're not gonna give them a COLA increase. It doesn't make sense to me. That's not how I do my business, I can tell you that much. And I don't know too many businesses that do it the way we're doing it. So again, this is government versus, private sector versus government, but I think we ought to re-examine that. Merit should be exactly that, merit. For the performance they're doing, either the year before or that year, that's where we give the discretion. It doesn't go to, it's almost like a bonus, because that's what we're saying. It's a merit increase, it's a merit bonus. Whereas the salary increase should be competitive. It should be in the range of what our neighbors are doing and what the marketplace is doing. And any COLA increase on top of that. That makes sense to me. So I think I'm looking at it, I think we're a little backwards a little bit. And I think we ought to re-examine that policy, because and she's right, we just gave the police, which I'm all, I made the motions, I'm all in support of that, but they also get a 5%. They have the same policy. Well, something doesn't make sense here. It just doesn't fly. And you wonder why we're in trouble. So I think we ought to re-examine that whole aspect of how we do the merit increases and that whole philosophy. And we might have to come back before the final budget and revamp how this is done. Because I can see where certain things are just, it's not fair. It's just not right. So anyway, that's my 2 cents. For it's worth.
Okay.
Pay for performance evaluation is done pretty much in every police department I've been with on a yearly evaluation, as you should call it. It's in the contract that they get this evaluation, whether it's a step plan, whether it's a pay for performance. Right now, we have a pay for performance. My recommendations today were just to bring up for retention and for hiring.
Okay.
No, and we're with you, 100%. I think we gotta look at the whole policy and say, do we understand what we're doing?
Yeah.
Because I'm figuring we don't fully understand what we're doing.
I understand it.
Well, I understand, and I disagree with you a little bit on some of that stuff you said, but the thing about it is, every couple of years, we seem to have to always reevaluate where the town of Ocean Ridge stands and all the other towns. Yeah, how many times have you and I have been sitting up here and we get the evaluation sheet from all the other towns?
And we're always paying.
Almost every single year or every other year, we get the same thing. So whether you're giving out 5% and it's increasing their salaries always seem to be, well, our salaries always seem to be a little lower, especially in the police
Well, we're in a
department.
big circle. What's
Then-
happening is everybody else is doing
Doing
the same thing we're doing.
So
we're
it's whether
playing
you say, okay, I'm
hopscotch.
gonna give it as a stipend or I'm gonna give them a raise, you still gotta get up to where everybody else, it's just this constant battle to keep the salaries commensurate with what's going on in
And
the rest of the
inflation
area.
doesn't only hit Ocean Ridge.
All right, so we've.
Well, the other thing with
I think we-
inflation
Yeah,
though
same.
is inflation is all caused by the real estate. What's happening is the inflation in Miami-Dade went up 16% on housing costs. It's called shelter costs. That was the inflation. It was 16%. And that's why, what'd you come up with? 9.6. The 9.6, the rest of the stuff wasn't as bad. But if you take 16%, and at that point in 2021, it was 1/3 of the inflation rate. So you spent 1/3 of your money on housing costs or sheltering costs. Well, think about it. If you're adding 16% a year or 15%, it's even worse now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's more like 35 or 38%. So that's the problem. And that's why, our real estate taxes are going up because the houses are going. Now, the people that are homesteaded aren't bad because they're only going to go up 3%. It's all the new people coming in, the people buying the houses, knocking the old ones down, put it
I
in.
don't know if you got an insurance bill lately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Across the board.
Which,
Then you get talking
which
about
I was
it.
gonna bring
That's
up when we
impacting-
start talking about
that's
taxes.
impacting- I mean, I think Tim made a good point, and I looked at that. If you look at some of these categories of where the expenses are, I sit there and scratch, how did we get there? How did it happen, right? I mean, Public Works went up umpteen%. I mean, how did that happen? What are we doing?
Still not happening.
What are we doing within the, I guess this is part of what I was trying to say, is I think we need to reexamine all aspects of it and make sure that we're doing what we should be doing. And the jobs are commensurate with what's going on in town. I don't, it's just, if you really examine this budget, it's crazy. If you really look at the number increase. And I agree with you. But certain things like the salaries, we're stuck because we are competing with, I've used the term competing, but we're comparing, I should say, with our neighboring towns, and everyone, it's hard to get help, period. It's hard. So we have to be in that nature, and whatever it takes to do, we have to examine that aspect. Anyway.
Okay,
Food for thought, future meeting.
Okay.
so do you want to tackle lights and what was the other thing we wanted to tackle?
Lights was the biggie.
Lights is the big.
Yep.
So I mean, to me, lights is kind of simple. Fix the 2 lights, change the things out on the end that we needed to change out, the 2 fixtures because FDOT. Send an RFQ out to find out exactly what's it gonna cost to do all this lighting thing. Or even create a task force with a bunch of residents at the same time.
Did everyone get this email on the commission?
Yeah. From Victor?
Is from Victor?
I did not.
I think it's a great email, and when we do get to
But I know-
public comment, I think Victor ought to explain the email. Because it's done as bullet points, and I think he has more knowledge in his brain.
Well, come explain your email. I mean, what are you waiting for? I mean,
When we do come.
we should roll off the red carpet.
Not working.
He's waiting for a COLA.
Yeah.
Make a little comment is, you did all that and I really appreciate it, but you still had unhappy people making really snide comments in the back, so it just shows you, you can't keep everybody happy, no matter what, so. To start this off, the only reason I even got involved in this is my very, very close friend, our kids grew up together, probably known him as long as you, Jeff, is the vice president of wind and power at FPL.
It was a big week.
Yeah, he's way up there. And I've known him 20, 25 years, and I just figured, well, he's gonna know who to talk to. I just sent him a text, who would we talk to in Ocean Ridge? Wasn't planning on talking to anybody. Who would we talk to? And he just started putting me in touch with this person, that made me, make a long story short, after 4-hour sessions with 4 different people, I finally got to the person that's actually, they called me, named Gladys Rays, and she's the person that's actually in charge of lighting and stuff in Ocean Ridge, Gulfstream, Delray, and they gave me the whole outline of everything. To give you a little, which is amazingly interesting because there's a lot of information, but I'll be very brief. Bottom line, we own all our lights right now. We don't have to own all the lights. That $1 million, forget about it. That's a non-issue. So, and not that we're not gonna spend it, it's not even on the table. And here's the reason. The only lights we should be owning, and we have to own, that FPL will not even get involved with, are the 4 double lights on the bridge, period. They won't even install them. We're gonna have to go to DOT and get whoever they use on the other side of the bridge to get, if we replace the 2 or the 4, FPL is not involved in that. And our public works will be maintaining those forever.
So what about the ones going up and down?
That's the other thing. So those are 40 poles.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, here's the way those 40 poles work. We own them now, but we don't have to own them anymore. The reason we don't own them anymore is Florida Power has a program. It's called, there's 2 things, energy only, which are the ones we own, which is what we have on all of our lights now, which would be 44 lights. Counting, excluding the 4 out there, it's 40. We can go to their get off of energy only and go to full customer conversion. Now, what does that mean? They put them in. Here's what we have to do. The other thing is, East Ocean Avenue is a state road. State road SO4, 804. Okay? That means everything we do on that street has to be approved by the DOT as well. So we need permission from the DOT to allow FPL to give us this full conversion program. And what that means to us is we have to have 2 inspections. And this is so that they'll pay for the lights and put them in. We have to have a, here it is. Let's see.
Now, will they use the same poles or are we gonna have to pay?
No, it's complete replacement.
Yeah, but I'm saying, what about, are they gonna be like cement or?
No, we can, they have decorated lights. They don't have that style anymore, but.
Well, I'm just saying, but they're not just cement.
No. We're talking about, you can pick a normal one, but you can do a decorative one. They have.
And we just have to pay for that?
Nope.
We wouldn't have to pay for decorative poles?
No,
You sure?
trust me. No, we don't.
Well, maybe if you're in.
5 hours on this. It's not something we do. Okay? So here's the way it works. I even sent me the catalog for the poles. So we pick them out. You have to have the what do you call the PVC? Conduit inspection. You need that. And they said, listen, it's conduit's been in there 22 years. It's PVC. There's no way it's going to be bad.
Yeah.
So they just want to do that so they can reuse the conduit, the wiring that we have right now. And then because it is with the DOT, normally we wouldn't need this, but because it's a state road, we need a photometric analysis. Because DOT wants to make sure we have the lights close enough where there's a spread, the proper spread. Good news is when they were first put in, it was approved by DOT, so they know that we're not going to need any more lights. What they're worried about is DOT's going to say, no, you need twice as many lights. That's why they're so close right now, Steve. So that the DOT
Dictated.
and ultimately, so what happens there is we get a photometric analysis, we get the conduit inspection. That's going to cost us a total of the inspections and that we have to submit to the DOT, $21,000. No, excuse me, yeah, $21,000, $9,000 and $12,000. Once we have that.
Is this an outside inspector or is the DOT or FPL do the?
DOT handles it with FPL. FPL does the photometric analysis and does the conduit inspection.
After you pay them 21?
Yeah, because DOT is not even gonna look at the job without that. So it's gonna stay the way it is. Even if we wanted to pay for them ourselves, we can't until that has to be done, the photometric analysis and that conduit inspection. So that's that. And then ultimately, here's how it works. If we want the decorative lights, we pay for those analysis, they put in the new poles, and now we become an FP&L conversion client. where we get billed, and I'll tell you the reason this is important. We get billed on there's a zero outlay besides the inspections and taking down the old poles. They put all the other ones and we do not pay for those.
Wait a minute, they do the demo?
They take them down, FPL might charge us a little bit to take the old poles out, but they do not charge us to put the new poles in, especially if the conduit's fine. Okay? Because normally it's an $8 per linear foot to rewire it with conduit and things like that. So ours is good, we're good that way. And then ultimately what happens next is we pick a light, if you want a decorative light again. And then what they do is, let's say there's 40 lights, okay? On a decorative light, they're more expensive because they're gonna charge you monthly on your bill in perpetuity because it's their lights now. Now, what is the advantage of that? The car hits it, anything goes wrong with it, our Public Works don't touch those lights, ever, again. The only ones we're gonna deal with are the 4 that are on the bridge because they won't own them and they won't do anything with them. So from that point on, for the 100 more years, FPL is gonna handle this. So what happens then is they charge, there's 40 poles, figure this, there's $50 a pole, you get charged monthly. But DOT pays $26 a month of that 50. 26. So we're looking at $24 a month times 40. So Jeff, what's that?
12,000 a month?
What's that?
No, 26 times
Yeah,
40.
800 and change.
24 times 40, right? You said DOT.
24 times 40 is,
Less than 24.
960.
that's what we're gonna add to our bill.
1,000 doesn't work, but
That's it.
We like to be exact.
That's what we're gonna add to our bill. And then all the lights, except for the ones on the bridge that we have to deal with, are replaced. And from that point on, you're gonna have that $1,000, whatever that happens to be on your bill, but we don't pay the $1 million. Okay? So that's the whole scenario there. Now, while I was on the phone with them, they said, oh, what are you gonna do about the other 156 lights that need to be replaced? Like, I don't know what you're talking about. Well, there's 156 lights that were presented to the previous commission about a year and a half ago. And you guys might remember.
Oh, yeah, they
you
wanted
did remember
the LED lights.
The LED, exactly. But there's 156 of them that, and I don't have the addresses. They were gonna send them to me, but I got shut down. So, there's 156 lights that need replaced. 12 of them are on Old Ocean. Those can be turtle friendly. They're called amber lights. Okay. The rest of them are all around, some on Hudson, some on here, some on there, they're all over this place. Those get replaced zero cost. They want to take the incandescent lights and convert them to the LED. Now, I asked her this one question because the person that was in the, had her notes in the computer, Gladys, was great. I said, why would anybody have ever turned that down? Get-go. And she
Just
said,
free-
It was the color of the lights.
yes.
That's why they turned them down.
And they said that they were mistaken, and because there's 2 different intensities of those lights, and they based on Kelvin, okay? So there's 5,000 Kelvin, which is the ones you would see in hospitals, okay? There's 4,000 Kelvin, which is the ones you see in bigger areas, but everything here would be 3,000 Kelvin, and this is very important because we have some DOT lights on the A1A. Everything in town would be DOT. It would be a white color as opposed to a yellow color, but no brighter than what we have right now, a very soft
can
light.
we see one of these 3,000s?
They
I'm
did,
sure we
they
can.
came, they showed, they came here and they did a dog and pony show.
I don't
So
remember.
they were,
And then everybody did not, they were too bright for what we have now. The difference was night and day.
Yeah.
No pun intended. I mean,
well, when I
but
spoke
that
to the guy,
3,000 Kelvin,
Rick Anderson,
Maybe it wasn't available.
he says,
Maybe it wasn't available.
no,
Well-
because the sodium, the problem is the sodium lights that we have now, the bulbs are going out and you won't be able to get them.
right, exactly, as of January of 2024. That's it, it's over. And the other situation is, I said to them, which, Carolyn agrees with me because I spoke to her about we talked about the crosswalk south of Woolbright, and how ridiculous that is, how bright it is. And I said, if it's like that, nobody's gonna do anything. They said one of those were improperly done because they're too bright. And secondly, and that's the high Kelvin lights.
Well, the thing about it is they had an inspection there, a photovoltaic inspection on that, and they required that. FPL, actually, DOT required the intensity of that light because it was a crosswalk at
It
night.
could have been because it was a crosswalk.
And they actually did a test on it and they passed the test.
Right.
But
So whether
But all
FPL
the
thinks
other
it's too
lights
bright
are
or not, I
gonna
don't
be
know.
like
The DOT and FPL need to get their act.
the
Two times
technology on these LEDs, I don't know if you've changed light bulbs in your house in the last couple of years. But they
Yeah,
actually,
it takes three people, one holds the lamp.
Yeah.
Turns the
Three
lamp.
people change the lamp.
it's unbelievable, like these hi-hats, well, these are particularly not.
Well, they have 5 different
Yeah,
You can control.
warm,
control.
and you can go to a warmer color, and I bet you,
There's a warm
When you
color
get
now.
this catalog.
These are literally made for just residential areas, no commercial.
Yeah.
Okay, crosswalk I can understand because that's a different ballgame. But here's where we're gonna run into a bigger problem, because number one, they said if we agree to that, those lights can be changed, not tomorrow, but they'll put it on the books for tomorrow. Because you want it, they said you wanna get in line, because as of January, you're gonna have a problem. And if you just wait till they break one at a time, now you have a bright one, a brighter one here, a white one here, then a yellow one over here. And ultimately, it's gonna be a hodgepodge, and that's their words, not mine. That's all that is, okay? So ultimately, they're willing to do that. Now, here's
they're willing to come in and replace 156 bulbs at zero cost to the
a
town.
zero cost to the town.
So,
And most municipalities around here have already done it. In fact, I know Gulfstream's already done it, because I've spoken to Greg, what's his last name?
Okay.
so we need to see what these new technology bulbs actually look like.
Now you have one more little glitch, and I didn't get this far because they stopped sending me information. Of the 156, there's a certain number of those that are on A1A. Okay, another state road. Here's the problem. If we don't, and they start replacing those, if we don't call DOT and tell them that all those lights are on residential areas and not on a crosswalk, we're gonna have these super bright lights in front of mansions. They're gonna have these super bright lights and everybody's gonna be livid. So what has to be done is DOT has to be called and said, listen, all the ones you wanna do on North Ocean or A1A, this is a residential area. We want the lower Kelvin lights there, other than on the crosswalks. And ultimately, they will put them in, but we don't notify them, and when they put them in, they're just gonna put in the really bright ones.
And they're
like
putting them in
the
in
crosswalk.
2024, you said?
No, in 2024, you won't be able to, there's no parts for incandescent anymore, there's no repairs on incandescent anymore, and ultimately, that's the situation.
Sodium, I forget the name
Now,
of it.
she did say one other thing, some municipalities, nobody around here turned them down because they said that they're hurting the environment. That's what she claims.
The town turned them down here?
No, not this time,
No.
other areas, because there's people that said it's hurting the environment, she said.
All right,
no.
so how do we, it seems like there's 2 different things. We should bring the FPL guy back and tell him to put the 156 lights, get those going, at least.
Yep.
I'll tell you what, I have a street light literally right in front of my window, that you
Mhm.
drive underneath when you come car.
My girlfriend.
I'll put one right there, but I mean, I want to make sure it's a 3,000 and everybody can drive by and see
Yeah,
it.
that's it.
Well, and they said
But
all the-
I get to charge.
They
you know,
said
like a
all
little
the ones
gate
that
or
are
something.
not on A1A, those gotta be automatically 3,000. It's the ones that are on A1A, which are DOT, have to be approved. that
Yeah, but I
we have-
want to, but don't you, the
And this is
public's
poles
going to want to
too,
see the
right?
ones that are in front of their homes, like down all Ocean Ridges.
Right, but what I'm saying is, if those got replaced, they'd end up getting the softer ones anyways, because that's what they put there, period.
But I want the
No matter what, 'cause-
softest.
Right.
Exactly. And then the only ones we're gonna run into a problem is on A1A, because DOT is gonna tell them automatically to put the bright ones in. But if we call DOT and say, no, there's no commercial here, this is just residential, even on A1A.
Well,
Because they
take,
started rattling off
No commercial.
addresses.
okay, so again, it's a 2-pronged attack here. So
Yes.
one is the Old Ocean, we need to get, so how do we get to your head guy from our town staff,
We
to your
don't
head guy?
go to the head guy, we go to
With
Gladys.
glass, yes.
Gladys?
This is very similar to
Gladys.
what I said
Gladys.
last
Rabbit?
week when we talked about the Ocean Avenue. I said we can do them ourselves for $1 million, or we can contact FPNL about having them own them and us lease them. That $960 that Victor is talking about is our lease of the lights from them, plus our energy cost.
Right, but we pay the energy cost anyway.
Right.
So now
Yeah.
they're just simply,
The LED costs.
they're collecting $24 a pole a month. That's what they're collecting.
Technically, they're collecting, here's how it works. Technically, they're collecting $50 a month, and we get a reimbursement from DOT for 26 of it.
Right.
Okay, so
But
we don't get into the weeds of this.
Yes.
You're gonna have to, it's gonna have to come to the commission as a package from the town staff.
Yep.
And then, because then we're gonna have to make a decision what the pole's gonna look like, what the light's
Of
gonna look
course.
like, I mean. But the 156 other lights, which FPL did come, was it a year ago or 2 years
I
ago?
think it was longer than that.
I
Was it
believe
3 years
it's
ago?
At least
And the
18
technology
months
has
ago.
changed so dramatically just in the
It
past.
couldn't have been
year.
3 years ago, I wasn't here 3 years
But here's my point.
It was about a
We
year.
have a asset here who knows the big gun at FPL. So how do we keep Victor
Well,
in this
basically,
mix?
they got it down to the point now, because I've had so many conversations, they said, listen, Gladys is your go-to. And Gladys says, if you call, or the only thing, what we need to do as a municipality is, Lynn or whoever needs to call DOT to make sure we don't get the bright lights on
Yeah.
A1A, that's number one. And I'm talking about the 156 right now. I'm still talking about those. And then lastly, she was about to send me a list of the 156, how many of them are on A1A and how many of them are just in the neighborhoods. Because you're gonna have to tell DOT that here's the ones that are on A1A, we
Yeah.
want the softer lights.
So,
That's all that. And then everything else we can do, she said you could break it up and do like your neighborhood, our streets, they can do that separately and wait for DOT to approve the ones on A1A. They don't have to wait and do it all at once. They can do how many of the 156 are there, okay? If there's 100 of them that aren't on A1A, they can start the process and start replacing.
And is that poles too?
Yes.
156?
No, I'm sorry. The 156
No,
are
that's
just
the
the
poles.
Oh, okay.
but
Okay.
Ocean includes the poles.
Yes.
It
Right,
takes
right,
24.
right. But I was just
Well,
concerned if there
so-
were new
Well, Lynn,
poles of the
well,
other
wait,
ones. but-
well, Lynn, wouldn't this be something for Public Works Director to put together, or is that something that?
No, because this is a major project. This is something that I would do.
No, this is something, I agree. This is
Yeah.
something that.
I totally agree, but you have an asset here. Like, you could have a task force with,
At this point, it's pretty simple. It's a matter of finding out of the 156, how many are on.
Well, no, I'm saying they're two different things.
No, I get it.
Yeah, take
but
the
I'm just-
156, that's pretty much give them a call, hey, come back, can you show us what the lights are?
right, make sure. we
And then,
see.
but the one from down Old Ocean and
I'll
doing
lay
that,
out
all
it.
that stuff is involved.
So to give you a little summary of that, you have to get the conduit inspection, the
Right.
photometric analysis inspection, and that needs to be coordinated with DOT, and then FPL will do it. In other words, you talk to Gladys, she talks to DOT and says, okay, you can get those two inspections. She calls Gladys up, they set up for the photometric analysis, they set up for the conduit inspections, we pay for that. And now,
We could take that out of contingency if we had to. So this,
We
so
already have 125 in
Right, so that would take that
2023's
one.
capital,
So
and
it's
that
our-
was what it was reduced to for FY '24, was still 125. So we have more than adequate.
all right, so I guess, since we're at the budget meeting, so it's already in there for the Old Ocean. so we
Ocean,
can-
not Old Ocean.
Ocean.
It would be,
Ocean,
the
yeah.
125
Sold
would
in
cover
state.
both at this point.
Yeah.
The 125.
But we don't have to buy
budgeted
them.
in.
We
the
have to
only
buy the
thing, the only
bulbs?
thing we don't know,
No.
and we need to find out is where do we get those 4 lights on the bridge? And who's gonna put them in and what they're gonna cost?
So-
This is not even.
Well, you
on the
almost
table.
get it.
Lynn, 125
You
will
don't
cover
pay any light for that.
putting lights
Well,
on the
but it-
bridge
they have to be somebody that works.
and working on
state
this
bridges.
inspection
That's why
reports.
FPL won't.
It should, yes.
Is it too much money? Should we reduce it?
Not knowing what
Not only the
the
exact.
heads on the bridge are
Thank
going
you,
to
Victor.
cost with installation, because it isn't
Yeah.
an FPNL organization.
Yeah.
I wouldn't reduce it because we don't know what those costs are gonna be.
Okay.
Well, it's
Because I
not-
thought Phil said we're 89 over now. Are we 89 over on the budget?
Well,
What?
we're 176. We had a surplus of 176 on the budget. But if that 100 grand is right, then you're only gonna have a surplus of 70.
So it's still surplus, okay. Just remember that number, 125, because we could probably put that down to 100 if we needed to.
Or even 50.
Hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so
Thank you, that was terrific.
Yeah, thank you.
we'll have FPL come in with the changing light bulbs thing again. Because then when during a regular meeting, if we can.
And Ocean Avenue, that's the biggie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but Ocean Avenue is that's a whole different
Yeah.
machination
Yeah.
of how you
But it's
do that.
free, I love it.
No, right.
Well,
Then we
may
can-
put it
It's
on
elite.
time forever, but it's still-
We can put our island in.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
I have a
Come on, I don't want
question.
to lose you over there.
Elvis left the building.
Just a couple things, well, in going through comparing the August budget to what we got in July, there's almost $10,000 in the town clerk budget for agenda software. What's that?
Kelly, do you want to adjust the agenda software you're wanting?
Right now, we're looking to get Civic Plus. Basically, it's a software that would help me organize, get everything together for the agenda. Right now, it's all done by hand, and so we get it out a lot quicker. This way people that can put it in with their explanations, the numbers, everything will be all calculated, and it ties in with the website. So as soon as it's done, I can send it out to the commissioners, you guys have any approve, any changes or whatever it may be, you let me know, it gets changed, and then I can publicize it onto the website.
You know, you scared the heck out of me because I thought you said gender software. And I was like, oh, no, not this battle.
What else you got?
I got
Oh, I
two
have
things.
couple.
I got small stuff.
I got two things. One, Iguana, I need you to
That's
check
it.
and make sure is there a clause, a 30-day clause for that,
Cancellation.
to cancel it? And also, regarding that, I gotta agree with Steve on how do you verify that they're,
Yeah, I just found out. That's why I grabbed Billy and the head dispatcher. You know what he does?
what?
He used
freezes
to come
them and uses
through,
them
he used to come through dispatch and just say hello 3 times a week. Now he comes like once a month just to say hello to dispatch.
Yeah, so he
He's
doesn't
gone
show you
from 3
anything.
times a week to coming through to prove he's here to once a month.
So you think he's
40
not
Gs.
doing it?
No,
So you don't know if you're getting the same Iguana over and over again.
And the other thing is,
I go over to Boynton, I mean, they're loaded with iguana, and we don't seem to be, but, you know, if you guys.
Well, I
don't
think
they're
he's
doing
going
it,
over
they're not
around
doing it.
Ken's neighborhood, gets them and then throws them over the wall to the inlet and then they just come right back. So you just get, he's got a continued business going on.
so we'll check for the cancellation clause for sure. And the
Yeah,
other,
the other thing, go ahead.
verifying the kill, I think he still ought to come through the parking lot.
I agree with
Really, that.
He should come in,
Let's
we
just
should.
ask him exactly these questions. How do you verify? And let's set up a measure to do it if you're gonna keep it.
Well, the other problem is you really want to get into this, and I feel stupid saying this. The guy can take him home to the deep freeze and then bring him out the next week. Sure, it's the same damn works, right? I mean, how far are we gonna go? But I want to know this cancellation.
Can't we
clause.
fingerprint him, maybe?
I just see a guy's freezer in his house full of.
Okay,
The other thing is, go ahead.
the other thing we needed to talk about was the diesel pump, which Lynn clarified for me. It's not the tank, it's the pump.
No, it's not the
Both
underground
like the
tanks.
diesel and the unleaded, it is the pump systems and the pump mechanisms, not the tanks that have problems.
So we're all set on this.
On the tanks, but we're still asking to upgrade the pumping mechanisms in the capital
Right.
budget.
Now,
But-
so
what are
Yeah,
those
but
costs?
wait,
Stop
wait,
using
wait,
the
wait,
tank.
wait, we're not just, no, that's not exactly what's in the budget. Budget is actually upgrading the system as well as doing an electronic system for how many thousands? It was like,
Total of 38,000 for the unleaded pump, would change out the pump and upgrade it to a fleet's software.
so what would be just to change out the pump without the fleet software, keeping it like it has been for the last 30, 40 years, where you flip the thing and it goes click, click, click.
We would have to get a different quote.
Okay.
it's a big
Because I mean,
number.
how much
Well, how much is the diesel?
theft, what's that?
How
The
much is
diesel pump.
Yeah, what's a diesel?
is
The diesel one, I know we haven't changed in a long
12,000, I believe,
time.
for the new diesel.
We're gonna be going to
So it's not-
electric pretty soon anyway, so you might as well just,
Electric meter on it?
Yeah, where am I gonna charge my car?
Oh, electric and the, yeah, but there's no way I'm in favor of getting rid of those tanks. That's this way, it's a huge asset. Because even if you went to you,
Who said we're getting rid of the tanks?
We had discussion in that.
there's a discussion regarding getting rid of tanks, and to me, that's completely out of, because say we got rid of them and said, no, you know, that was a bad idea, put them back in. There's no way the DEP let us put those tanks back in.
And a
Back
hurricane, a hurricane hits.
So anyway,
Well, that's.
There was a
one-
whole discussion about water getting into the
Well,
tank,
right,
but then
exactly.
oil's gonna get out of the tank.
But
into
no,
the soil,
that's wrong.
and
but that's
okay.
wrong, because
Where
there was
did it come
no,
from?
there was nothing wrong with the
It's
tank.
the pumps.
It's the
that
pump
were
that
replaced.
sucks the
So we gotta
gas,
stop
diesel
using
out of
that.
it.
Okay.
So
Where
I
the
do have
tanks
one
come
thing to say. And this is, I think we need to do a little bit better job communication. Because.
Better job, what?
Of communication.
Wow.
Somehow,
Turn your mic back on, Ken.
sorry, we need to do a better job communicating. Because I think a lot of this stuff could have been resolved today had we kind of gone back and communicated a little better within ourselves, within the staff. and also to get the facts necessary. So we can do a little bit better job in our homework assignments and in our communication. So I would ask that we try to do that in the future, as a learning lesson.
The
There was
current
one-
contract
Steve, are you
does have a
packing up? What are you
termination
doing?
clause.
Well, what are we gonna do now?
Well, there's
We
one
haven't
more
even gotten
thing
to
too.
taxes.
How do we,
Taxes, mill rate.
we haven't discussed that. I haven't seen the no-see-him guy down my street, and I can't tell you how long. Have you seen him, Jerry?
I've never seen it.
So, and we pay for that another $60,000 every thing. So what's going on with the no-see-him guy? How do we
Funny
know?
you say that, because I did see the little flashing guy, the flashing light, was it last week or the week before?
In your
And
neighborhood?
well, no, the funny thing is, it didn't come, unless I missed it, he was leaving he was just coming outside of our area, but I don't even know if he went down our street or what he did.
Yeah, 'cause how do you know?
I assume he did.
Why would he spray your street?
But see, that my
Doesn't
question is,
matter.
how do we know that
Doesn't
they're actually
Yes.
giving us a service that,
Does them all. Goes around all the
I've
neighborhoods.
never
Yeah.
seen it.
Goes in and out all the neighborhoods. Usually it's at 9 o'clock. What ticks me off is that I'm usually walking the dog and then I gotta race inside.
So at 9 in the morning, you see?
No, at night.
it's only chrysanthemum
It's a-
spray. It's not natural.
Yeah, right. So it's the ideal time to get the no-see
Have you
is
seen
at dusk. So they're supposed to go around like at 8, now this time of year around 8:30.
But that's my thing. I have not seen them and I can't tell you how long. And now we're talking about the budget. I'm looking at the number. It's like, holy cow, how do we know?
Yeah.
That the guy's actually spraying?
I'm sure our officers, there's 3 of them that are patrolling the streets, would
I have
would
seen
say,
them.
Yeah, the
Huh?
ones with
Can't tell you.
bronchitis.
Well, that was like the mysterious street sweeper we didn't see for so
And you
long.
saw him.
And then all of a sudden I was behind the guy. I was like, holy cow, there he is. But there's got to be a way to verify. I mean, what did Ronald say, Reagan say? Trust but verify? Yeah, I got it.
It's very simple. This is as simple as you can be.
Shoot.
We have 3 guys on the street, not guys, but people, officers on the street. One of them can't verify that on Wednesday they're coming around, or third, whatever day they come.
Scott?
I got a better idea. Get his tag and we'll put it in the tag reader.
Great.
Yeah,
Good.
Good idea.
there you go.
Can I
Just
ask
make sure
the
that-
chief a question? New in the August budget was the EMT program, medical supplies, a $10,000 line item. But hasn't that been, didn't the grant monies cover?
Yeah, that was to upgrade the kits that are in the car, with replacement, AED, upgrades, batteries, and you talking about from the donation?
Yeah,
Right, the original 10 grand is already down to, I think, 3,000,
okay.
for schooling, for the instructor.
Did you
So-
know, one of the police officers told me they were carrying oxygen around during this heat wave?
We did, out of this
Is that
year's
cool?
budget, we bought oxygen.
Yeah.
It's fail-proof, you can't hurt anybody with it. It hooks up to your BB mask, or there's a nose leader. So if somebody's short of breath, or it aids with your CPR,
Wow.
chances their chances greatly improved with the administration of oxygen. Everybody just went through the training. There's a bottle in each car.
So how much has Starbright funded so far?
The original 10 grand for just
That's
the
it.
schooling.
Okay. And then another question, the labor and service for police vehicles was 10,000 in July, and now it's 15.
My guess what that would be, because this year's line item we've already exceeded, and we exceeded that line item last year. And so we're making the adjustment.
Okay, and then building permit software, are we anywhere with Tyler Tech and getting out of that contract?
Last time I talked to Christy about it, she's had multiple conversations with them and their council, and they're supposed to be getting back to her. She calls them about every other day.
Okay, and then BSNA, did you get any clarification on? Because last I checked,
Right now, we're not moving forward with anything else. BSNA they're not in Highland, they're in Tequesta. But when I spoke to Highland, the reason that Highland didn't go with them for their building permit software is at the time, you could not do your inspections on site from a.
I think that's still the case. That's
No,
what
I
Marshall
spoke,
told me.
I spoke to BSNA and they said, no, if you have a cellular capable device like an iPad or like the computer laptops that the PD and the building department have that connects because it's a cloud-based software, you can do all of your inspections, et cetera, from the field.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, and we're unwound from CapGov, that, because we piggybacked on Lake Worth's,
Yeah, because we're
Contract?
going entirely with hybrid.
but we could just end that contract. We
Yes.
didn't, okay. All right. That was it?
No, you still want to do the discussion on the millage?
Well,
Do
don't
we
we
have to
have
do
to?
a thing on
Yeah.
the millage? We have to vote so we don't have to come
Well,
back.
I mean, right now, this budget is based, and as Phil said, after, all the changes after the last meeting, at a 5.5% budget or mill levy, there was anticipated 476,000 in revenues over expenditures. Where we're at now with the changes, I would have to input them in. I wouldn't anticipate, we had said our max would be 5.5372. There's no reason to go to that. 1 mil of property taxes, or 0.1 mil of property taxes brings in 148,000 and some change.
Wow, it used to be 110.
Property
Like-
values.
The
No,
last
the point
revenue
right
over expenses statement I have from the August budget is 484,469.
And we made changes to how much we're taking out of the general fund, how much the capital, everything like that.
But we haven't seen any update on this.
Yes, you did, it was in today's packet.
So, Lynn, do we need to do anything about the millage rate at this meeting?
It's the last.
That seems to be the question. And you're
Only,
saying,
only at the commission's direction is that with all things being equal after things that have been discussed and approved today, if you want to entertain a lower rate, you can tell me what you want to entertain that lower rate at, as long as we don't dip into cash reserves. Or if you want to dip into cash reserves, otherwise, we can leave it at 5.5.
and what's the procedure?
Well-
I just want to make sure we don't miss a piece of the procedure.
Well, the only thing, I mean, right now, the budget is figured at 5.5. We will
Right.
go to the public hearing with it, with the changes today, still using a 5.5 mill levy,
Right.
unless the commission directs me to reduce it as
Right.
to whatever
But
we
we
can.
can't.
But we can reduce it at
Whatever
that
we
point.
until we
can
find
and
out.
still
No.
balance and have a
Neither is
zero
fair.
balanced budget.
Bill
Or as close
ballparked
to
it at
that.
89,000.
Is that the final meeting?
That's the hearing.
More money
No,
than
the
we
final
need.
meeting's on the
But-
18th of
But
September.
you're gonna give us a hard number at the next meeting, the three of
I'll
us.
give you a hard number before that.
The hard budget number, and then we'll
So-
know whether we can reduce the millage.
I would like to know what the mill rate would be with zero revenue over expenses, when all of the changes that we've talked about have been. I mean, I'm not asking you to
And that I
generate it right
don't-
now,
Yeah.
but that's what I think is important for us to consider,
But also-
because thinking of all the ways inflation is affecting the taxpayers in town, everyone's property insurance has gone up. Everyone feels it. So all this conversation about salaries, I would like to have a conversation about.
Right, but I'd also keep in mind, remember, we spent 1.5 million out of reserve. It's always good to have a healthy reserve.
We do.
And the fact that Lynn just quoted 148,000, last time we did this, Jeff, 2 years ago, a mill point was 110. So that shows you the
How much
increase.
property value?
Yeah. That's amazing. It's great.
But without the information of everything we've done today, how it affects the budget.
Yeah.
And what the money's what it ends
So,
up.
you know what, I would like to see what it would also be at 5.25, and what would you recommend to get us to that point? So you have a 0, a 5 1/4, and 550. Because if you recall, when we passed the 550, there were a lot of people who said, oh, that's just the highest we'll go. Well, now, guess what? It became the rule. We're no longer at the highest we go, it became the rule. So now looking at it, what do we do to get it to the point where it's because what was our tax base last year? What was it?
The
The rate.
5.5.
Our millennial was
5.5.
It was
5.5.
5.5.
So here was the, you know,
We can't answer the question until Lynn tells us.
no, I know.
But also, along with that, it'd be nice to know what is the tax increase? Because the mill rate the same, the mill rate, what is the net tax increase, ad valorem increase?
We had that.
Yeah, we have the schedule in our.
No, I know, but when we put forward the numbers, like have it all on one
Right.
page, so it's transparent.
There was one other thing that we wanted Lynn to do. No, that's for next year's budget.
Next year's budget?
The start out of what we have in reserves.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Not this year.
There's no fund balance.
Come on up.
You know, you're kind of going through all these numbers and we still don't know what the fund balance is from last year, last September.
Yeah.
So do we have a ballpark, what the fund balance is? What's your guess?
Ballpark for the general fund balance was roughly 4 million, 4.2, I believe.
So we're down, fund balance from September 21, down $3.5 million.
I don't know, it's 3.5.
$7.4 million on September 2021.
But is that the full, is that the full fund balance or is that the, including the restricted funds? Because that 4.2 is not including the restricted
That was the
funds.
full fund balance.
But Kim, I went through this. We had 5.8 because we could run the town for 63 or 65% of it. Then we bought the pre-slant.
So
But that,
that should be down.
I think that took it to the 4.1.
Yeah.
But I never remember it being in the 8 million.
It was
No, he's talking about the capital
7,455.
fund. There's a capital fund too.
When
that
you
we
throw it
have.
on top of it.
Yeah, if you throw it on.
Yeah.
top, you get
Right, but I always look at the reserve as a sacred, up here on the side.
You know, lockbox?
So the next meeting is.
Including all of our capital, all of our reserves, our fund balance right now is, these are my estimates.
Wow. Because you talk too much.
You've got 2.3.
I actually did.
No, you did good. You're trying to put policies in place into a policy base list.
Well, while she's doing that, let me explain something to you. It's gonna be high now because we got all the tax revenue in basically, but we haven't spent all the expenses. So we're gonna have that cash flow issue.
So our capital reserves are 2.6. That includes the ARPA and the infrastructure and other capital project reserves, and cash reserves is 4.2. So you've got
That's all I care about. The rest of it's already spent.
0.2 plus that, plus that, plus that. Plus formulas don't work. 6.84342,713, but again, that doesn't, that includes all of the money that we've got for our general operating for the rest of this year until January.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. All right, anything else? Yeah, the Ghana guy, we could put a body cam on. Motion this, motion carried. Thank you, meeting adjourned. Huh? Vote with your feet. I got an injection button for you I was gonna push.